Thanks, Megan. This is a Fox News alert. Chaos in Baltimore tonight. The governor of Maryland declaring a state of emergency in the city with the National Guard tonight on standby. And the Baltimore Police Department saying that 15 police officers have been injured after clashing with very violent protesters. Now, the rioting continuing at this hour with protesters looting stores, attacking police. And as we look at all that's happened, we got looting, the burning of buildings. We've got 15 police officers injured, one severely, rocks, boulders being thrown at police officers. A curfew is in place, not tonight, but tomorrow night. You got buildings ablaze, cop cars being burned, cops doing next to nothing, which is the question we'll be asking throughout the hour. You've got the Crips, the Bloods, the Black Guerrillas, families, the name of a gang, and the Nation of Islam pledging that they are going to be violent against police officers. On top of that, you got a senior center burning, a CVS burning, looting of liquor stores and other stores in the area. And, of course, you know, why aren't they doing anything? Joining us now with the very latest developments on the ground is Fox News reporter Leland Vittert, who's out there. Leland.
There's clearly a lot of angered people, and there's a lot of violence on the streets tonight. I want to give you a sense of the battle lines that have been drawn here. Go ahead and take a look at the police that are here. You get a sense of just how many grounds, and then we've got hundreds of riot police who have now come out. Dozens of stores looted. We watched that happen. We watched those liquor stores get looted, and if you go then down the street to the left, I'm going to get Steve to pan all the way over to the left, and you go all the way down, and you can see the fires that are now burning in the streets. There's that smell of tear gas here, and it's hard to put into words the amount of violence we've seen. We've witnessed probably at least half a dozen stores be looted, reports of many more stores that have been looted. And as you get a sense here, Sean, as we've been standing out here, you see all of the liquor bottles and things that have been thrown at the police and that kind of stuff. And then you see also, obviously, all the police. They had been retreating a while ago. A number of the clergy said they came out. A number of clergy has come out and said they'd asked the police to move all the way back. And obviously, you have some professional agitators out here. And then we have and obviously, Sean, now we're going to show you this fellow who says that the police shot him. So just show. Well, we're going to let this sort of play out here as it goes.
Look at my back. Look at my side. I'm a real gorilla.
Well, you can see him showing. Freddie, here you go. That's some of the beanbag rounds that have come out here. And there's another side there as well. And you get the sense of the amount of force that's out here. A lot of anger here. We're going to sort of walk back down over here and come back over to the other side here and give you a sense of this police line that's. So as you get a sense, as you walk over here, this is what's going on.
Racism, classism.
And what we're hearing from folks is a level of anger, not simply about the recent death, but in a larger sense about what has happened over a long period of time in Baltimore. And that's the anger that is now coming out on the streets, from the poverty to the racism that they say and other things as well. And that's what's also coming out here in this. Sean?
You know, but Leland, it's a minority police force and political scene there. What does this guy want to say?
Hold on, Matt. You lived here 30 years.
30 plus years.
What makes you? Are you angry? Are you upset? What are you thinking?
I'm angry with all of it.
Okay.
All of it.
Do you really want to know the real story?
I'm angry with them.
Let me talk to Matt. I'll talk to you next.
I'm angry with them. I'm angry with my community handle this situation. But
when you say them, you're angry at the police.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
For the way they conduct themselves. Listen, like he said earlier, man can come out here, go to work. Next thing you know, he face down. You know what I mean? They patting him down. They treating him like he's a common criminal. He's trying to provide for his family.
Okay.
Now here's another scenario. You know, they won't even tell the public what happened with why they stopped the man. Why they beat him.
You're talking about Freddie.
Yes. Okay. Why they beat him down and what the case.
And do you think it's about Freddie, or is it about what's happened in this community?
You know what? What's happening now I don't even know. I can't even say it's about Freddie. I can't even say it's about Freddie. You know what I mean? Because we're better than this. We're better than this. But they're tight.
You've lived here for 30 years.
30 plus years.
30 plus. You now see a police line of hundreds of riot police lining up here. You've got violence. You've got fellas shot by beanbags. You've got looting going on. It's got to break your heart.
It did. It did. And it's breaking the heart of America. You know what I'm saying? But you know we tired. They tired.
And you know what? It's sad. It's sad that they doing what they doing. But guess what? I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. It's necessary for the simple fact that, check this out. I just came home in September. They gave me a 5-year no parole sentence for a gun that wasn't even mine. Why? Because the Baltimore police put the gun on me. And when they keep doing stuff like this right here, when I come out the door to go to work in the morning and they throwing me on my face and I'm skinned up or whatever, can't go to work. But what I'm saying is, check this out, it's about Freddie Gray. But what I'm saying is the Freddie Gray situation was the straw that broke the camel's back for real. You know what I mean? And everybody out here that's looting, that's rioting, they have a story to tell themselves. They have their own story. They have a story to tell themselves about what's done happened to them, the injustices that the police, the Baltimore Police Department. Okay.
What's your name?
My name is Frederick.
Frederick, I'm Lee.
Yes.
It's nice to meet you. So, Frederick, you say everybody has a story.
Yes, everybody has a story.
Out here that's angry, and some of the folks who we just witnessed this clash between the.
And I understand.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you think that this is, in the end, going to accomplish something, or is this just blowing off steam?
No. What I'm saying is, it's not going to accomplish anything. No, it's going to accomplish something in the long run because it's going to tell suburbia and white America, excuse my French, but truth. If the truth hurt, you gotta live in pain.
Okay.
It's going to tell white America that we're tired of it, for real, for real. When you come out here and the police is doing all this to you for no reason at all because of your environment, you don't have to be a part of this environment. You don't have to sell drugs. You don't have to be out here doing this. You don't have to be out here doing that, but you're still getting treated as such. You feel where I'm coming from? You're still getting treated as such. So therefore, when you're getting treated unjust, as the Baltimore City Police Department is doing these people out here for real, and myself included.
Frederick, let me ask you a question, you too, Mac. Give us a sense of. Oh, whoa.
Are you serious?
All right, so now we don't know what happened behind us as we were interviewing Frederick. I'm going to ask Seraphin. Seraphin's our producer. Did you see what was going on over there, Seraphin?
There's some activity, and then they all jumped on somebody. I don't know what happened exactly.
I don't know. She was standing there, and then all of a sudden they just rushed.
We heard some things being thrown and that kind of stuff. Did you see it, Dave? We didn't see anybody who knows what brought this upon, but clearly the police who had been standing there in line ran out, bum rushed everybody, and we're going to see if we're going to see right now if there's going to be any kind of movement by the police. Yep, we got this police officer asking us to move up, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. And you can see them coming back. We can't tell if they have anybody with them that they may be arrested or not. We're going to move over. Sean, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine, Leland. Yes.
All right, we're going to just sort of head back over to the side of the street where our cars are. What's interesting is that for a long time the police had been retreating, and you're watching them do that right now. And we watched them retreat as there were liquor stores and everything else being burned. But now there seems to be a much stronger and more forceful response. As the looting was happening, the police weren't doing anything, and now we've got the police helicopter flying over, and I'm also hearing pops going on, which it's hard to tell whether that's gunfire, tear gas, firecrackers. You just don't know on a night like that, on a night like this, I should say, of what's going on. But clearly, there are parts of Baltimore now that are burning, and that's what you're watching, whether it be the street fires that we're seeing burning here, the community center, the CVS earlier, and there's a lot of folks who are willing to let their city burn. When the fire department came out, there were folks cutting the fire hoses to allow CVS to burn.
Leland, let me ask you a question. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you, Sean.
You know, earlier in the day, the police were almost in retreat as rocks and bottles were being thrown at them. You're saying now they're getting more aggressive and moving into the areas where all of this is happening and the protesters are?
It does seem like they're getting a little bit more aggressive as things are going on, and that's what we just witnessed here. When about an hour ago, we were at a street corner no more than 100 yards from here, and they the protesters or rioters or looters, call them what you want, came, and then they just looted these stores in front of the police, and the police did absolutely nothing during the whole time. We now actually can look and see the front door where the police had bum rushed up here a little while ago.
Yeah. Hey,
Shauna is going to come over here in 1 second, but essentially it seems like the police have gotten a little bit more aggressive as this night has gone on, and probably with good reason, as we're seeing more and more violence against the police. We've heard of another police injury. 15 police have already been injured, and as the sun goes down, invariably these whatever peaceful protesters there were go home because it gets dangerous out here, and that's when the violence truly increases. Sean,
Leland, what can you tell us about the alliance between
one other person? I have Shauna over here. Shauna. My name's Leland Vittert. It's nice to meet you.
Hi.
You have a sign here. It's the only sign I've seen out here all night, and you've been everywhere.
Yeah.
Are you a little bit scared as you're out here? No.
No.
You're not scared. Are you scared of the police?
No.
And you're not scared of the protesters? Why not?
No. Because
I'm going to get you to turn
people.
around here a little bit. Just tell me, these are your people. It's got to break your heart to watch this happen.
It does. I feel so bad because I know that this does not have to happen. I mean, everybody gets in trouble, but they just don't have to kill everybody for everything.
Is this about Freddie Gray, or is this about a deeper problem in Baltimore?
This is not about just Freddie Gray. I mean, I've watched so many of our people get killed. I'm just tired of it. And I just have to do something.
Okay. Well, it looks like there's maybe some problem coming down the alley here. We just saw the police sort of reform their lines. But Shauna's going to keep talking. Way to solve things, the looting and the rioting?
No, absolutely not. This is not going to help anything. The way to do it is the way,
our pastors have done it in our churches and our leaders and, the mayor. That's the way to do it. Do everything peacefully. Let's sit down. Let's talk about this. Let's stop lethal.
And we've seen, to the police's credit tonight, we haven't seen any lethal force. We've seen beanbags. We've seen things.
Yes, they have. I mean, they have been.
You said the police have been restrained?
Yes, they've been restrained. They have.
And you think this is the beginning of something new?
I hope so. I really hope so. I really do, because they are doing a good job.
Shauna, we appreciate your time. I hear somebody talking to me. It's a little loud, so
yeah, Leland, can you hear me?
Say that again.
It's Sean. What do you hear on the ground about the alliance between the Crips, the Bloods, the Black Guerrilla family, which is a known gang there, and even the Nation of Islam, and they're threatening violence against the police?
All right, it's tough to ask any of the folks who were probably involved in either of those groups those questions. We did that a little bit earlier, and that didn't end out so well. Let me see if I can get Shauna back over here. She may have a little bit of perspective to share in terms of the gang activity here. There's no question, though, that there's targeting of law enforcement going on out here. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen the throwing of bottles, stones, rocks, all those kinds of things. We've seen law enforcement really being pelted with bottles and showing a lot of restraint, as Shauna said. Sean Hannity was asking me a question. Tell us about the gang situation here. Are the gangs now sort of trying to get together to go after law enforcement?
No. They actually want peace.
The gangs want peace?
Yes, they do.
That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
I know, but they do.
Why? Tell me why you think that.
I am so...
Okay, now we've got a little bit more tear gas going on all the way down. And you got... what Frederick just said, tear gas, fires, and everything. This is not exactly what you think of as a common American city. And what's interesting is that the images are very similar to what we saw in Ferguson, Sean. And I would guess, although I don't know, that the agitators are a lot of the same people. But this is way more widespread. Shauna just told me that the agitators are the same folks here that there were in Ferguson. But this is a lot more widespread. The amount of looting that has gone on just today probably equals what we saw in Ferguson. There's certainly been a lot more confrontations in a lot more places. This sort of reminds you a little bit of the kind of running street battles you see occasionally in parts of the Middle East where I was for 4 years. It's not quite to that level yet, but it's getting there, and you can imagine that there's not a curfew tonight. Why the mayor didn't put one in place, who knows? But it's very clear that that things are going to happen tonight now as nightfall has come out, and certainly there people have gotten increasingly angry.
All right, Leland Vittert on the ground. We're going to get back to Leland throughout the hour tonight and in just mere moments here. But first, we have a local reporter who's on the scene. Marina Morocco's with our Fox affiliate there. Marina, tell us what's going on where you are in the city.
Hey there, yeah, we're actually in East Baltimore, about 20 minutes from West Baltimore, where everything happened earlier today, where the funeral happened and the protest started. Now, you can see behind me here quite a number of fire engines on the scene. They're working on this fire that was just seconds ago, frankly, completely engulfed in flames. This building, a $16 million project, a senior citizen community that was to open up shortly here. Unfortunately, this place will not be opening up anytime soon. You can see how crews are working on this fire here in East Baltimore. We're going to pan over and you're going to see that fire engines are also working on the adjacent buildings here. There's a laundromat that's also on fire, another storefront on fire, and a house, a row house, also engulfed in flames. It's truly unfortunate, the situation here. You almost makes you wonder if this is being done on purpose to deploy resources here so that whoever's doing this and the criminal activity can be taking place somewhere else. Truly unfortunate here. We understand now more arrests are taking place, although we don't have an accurate count at this second. But Baltimore mayor here saying 27 arrests earlier this afternoon. 2 police officers still remain in area hospitals being treated following the unrest earlier today, about 15-20 minutes from where we're standing.
All right, Marina, thank you so much for being with us as we appreciate your report. We go back to Leland Bittert, who is still on the ground with some of the people that are out there pretty much confronting the police. As I understand the situation, as you're describing it, Leland, they are literally head-to-head there. How much distance is there between them?
Well, it depends. Sometimes there's just a couple of feet as everyone's yelling at each other. Sometimes there's a pretty big distance, and that's what we've seen now. If you look down, we're walking now, we're probably 75 yards from where the police are, and you look down right there, and we've got, certainly, Mac, you can see better than I. Are they looting these stores down here?
No, they ain't going in the
They haven't looted them.
on that reporter.
Oh, they're attacking somebody?
They putting a beat down on a reporter.
Okay, so Mac is telling us here that he's hearing that they're beating up a reporter or getting upset with a reporter who's here. Somebody's heading out, and obviously these folks are pretty angry here.
Leland, can you ask that reporter what happened?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you. Hi.
Reported. I don't want to be with you.
Okay, so evidently the fellow who just got beat up says he doesn't want something being beat up.
Look what they did.
Mac, oh, hold on. This is Mac's car.
Yeah, the Maybach.
This is your car?
Yeah,
the Maybach. All right.
Maybach. Me and the Maybach rode many miles together.
And they busted out the windows?
Right here in my own community. My own community.
Exactly, but the thing is,
you know, they just frustrated. They tired.
Folks are tired. They're angry. Matt, to this street corner where this stuff has been going on. And Sean, we're on what's called Fulton Avenue. The Fulton, and this is North Avenue that we're on. And North Avenue is where we've been for the past couple of hours and where we watched the looting and the fighting between the police. What's interesting, though, Sean, is you see all this group down here, dozens of folks, fires being set, a number of stores being looted, and yet, so far, the police haven't come down here. And at times we were watching them. Mac, you watch the folks up there, the police up there, and we're walking down here. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the police not doing anything, coming down and stopping this?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. They letting them get away. They just shut it down. Why y'all out here? Why y'all down there? Why y'all down there?
Why are the police down there?
Ain't nothing going on down there.
It certainly seems that the residents are a little upset. We're gonna kind of come down a little bit farther. Steve's going to come this way, and you get a sense of the burning that's happened. I can smell a little tear gas. I'm not sure exactly how much has happened. We've also had beanbag rounds fired and all that kind of stuff, and now we've got this fire. I've got a gentleman here. I wouldn't mind talking. You've been taking some pictures out here, sir. Yeah. Tell me, what do you think about all this?
Well, I mean, you know, people just showing their frustration. You know, it's just out of hand, and then as much as the the awareness of black people getting messed up by police, they would go and kill somebody. Come on, man. You know, it's boiling over. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's what?
It's boiling over. The tension is boiling over.
Well, you say the tension's boiling over, but you just got these folks doing all this down here, and the police are just up there.
What's your name again?
I'm Leland.
Leland? All right, Leland. I got to go to work, Leland.
Well, Mac, well, I have that feeling every day of my life, Mac.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
All right.
And we appreciate you talking to us. Stay safe, all right?
Okay, you do the same.
All right.
Y'all do the best y'all can to get these folks off the block. Because they, you know what I mean, they ain't doing nothing but stirring these youth up, man.
Right.
If they leave, I'm telling you, if they leave, they'll leave.
You think if the police leave, they'll leave?
If they leave.
All right. Well, Mac, we wish you a safe drive, and hopefully you can get the window fixed in the car.
Man, they done tore up the Maybach. It tear my heart apart.
Your heart in front of your own house.
In front of my own home, man.
Thanks, Mac. And we're going to keep going down. We're going to keep walking down a little bit. You get a sense of what's going on in this street corner. I can't see through the smoke, but it certainly looks
Leland,
like something's going on
over
over at that liquor store.
Leland, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, you know, one of the things, Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, had a rule. If one rock is thrown, if one bottle is thrown, the police react immediately. Why isn't that being instituted there as we watch the cops being pelted with boulders and rocks all day today, fires being set, looting happening, and they do nothing? What is their answer for not doing anything?
Well, Sean, the only police officers that I've been able to walk up and see have yelled at me to get back. So it's difficult to ask them any questions. But you can see the looting that's going on in this street corner. We got two stores right now. This guy's walking out with a Colt 45 poster, and then he's burning it. But you certainly got a lot of free liquor that's going on in the five-finger discount here. What you get the sense is that the police have a few feelings here. Number one, they're outnumbered clearly, if you think about the number of people that are around here. Two, it certainly seems like they don't want to inflame things. Now, whether that was a conscious choice or whether they've been given that command, I don't know. We have seen police not only from all over Baltimore, but all over Maryland coming in here. So you get the sense that they're pretty, I don't want to say gun shy, but they are certainly trying hard not to inflame the situation. Now, whether that
Leland, what's amazing, though,
to do that or not, I don't know.
What's amazing is they had every indication after Saturday night that this was all happening. This happened all afternoon this afternoon. Right. The curfew's not in effect tonight.
This certainly surprises me. They burned the CVS. There's no curfew. And this is a key point. You're watching the looting going on right here. Two liquor stores, Fulton Avenue and North Avenue. We've been seeing this going on all night. Liquor stores are getting looted right here. I'm here on the street, and where we were when we first talked to you, Sean, is only about 100 yards up the street right there. And the police can all see what we see, and they're not coming down here to stop this. So it does boggle one's mind that you have this amount. This is not civil disobedience. This is violence. This is thievery. This is ruining people's livelihoods. We talked to the guy earlier who owned this Easy Mart tobacco and convenience store. That place has been long cleared out. And he said, my whole livelihood's gone. They took everything, and the police have done nothing. As I get my bearings here and realize the police have now retreated in about 2 hours. The police have retreated a good 150 or 200 yards and let mayhem run wild on the streets.
Leland, let me give you an opportunity here.
Some of the residents around here saying this is ridiculous.
Let me give you an opportunity to regroup. We're going to stay on this shot, Leland, and as you get more people from the city to talk to, we'll go back to you throughout the hour. I want to invite in first Bo Dito, former NYPD detective, Mike Myers, the New York Civil Rights Coalition. You know, we're watching all of this. This started Saturday. We have looting and burning of buildings, rocks and boulders being thrown at police officers, and bottles and cop cars burned. The police on television retreating. Mayor Giuliani had a rule: one rock thrown, one bottle thrown, and you get those people immediately, and it ends right there. What are they thinking here?
Sean, it's very obvious that these cops are directed not to take action. We had it over here in New York.
But the people that are going to endanger here are the people, the good law-abiding citizens.
We had it in New York when Big Bird de Blasio wouldn't let the cops react. Here we go again. They're told to stand back. These cops would love to go in there, and they should be allowed in there and make arrests. These people are looting. They're throwing rocks. They're hitting these cops. They're doing all these things. They're committing all this violence, and these cops are told to stand back. If you think those cops are standing fast because they're afraid, that's baloney. baloney, or they're outnumbered. That's baloney.
Well, wait a minute,
They're
they probably
being
are outnumbered because, wait a minute, they have a curfew in place tomorrow,
yeah, but
not
Sean,
tonight.
that's the whole point, Sean. Where is the mayor now? She puts the curfew tomorrow. You got the National Guard that came on TV before. We watched it this afternoon with these boulders hitting these cops. Why weren't they able to take action?
Wait a minute, the Baltimore mayor literally said she gave space to the rioters to destroy Mike Myers.
Well, she's getting what she wants.
You have a Baltimore mayor, whatever her name is, I'm not going to say it, but she is the David...
Stephanie Rawlings Blake.
I know what her name is. But she's the David Dinkins of Baltimore. There's a failure of leadership, there's a failure of intellect, there's a failure of just being smart in Baltimore. You have people, and a police commissioner. Where's the police commissioner? Why isn't there a command
structure? Here's what I want to
structure?
understand.
But also,
in the middle of broad daylight today, at 3 this afternoon, they had 6 hours to plan and protect the city on this night. And all of what we're watching right now could have been prevented had they used just a little bit of common sense and brought in enough manpower.
Break it up.
To break this up so that the overwhelming majority of people in the city, which are in their homes scared to death tonight, wouldn't be going through this.
But the point here is, as you can see in your video, in live reports, the ruffians have taken over. The thugs have taken over the streets. And the more cameras are there, they're going to be in the streets because they're being show people. These people are not serious people.
Wait a minute. This is beyond show people. They're looting and robbing.
No, I'm not. You're not showing the people who are the thugs and the rioters and the looters. But I can tell you one thing.
Well, we have earlier.
They do not. They are disgracing the memory of Freddie Gray, and they're disgracing themselves.
Right. So my question is Freddie Gray for a second.
Yeah.
We don't know, none of us, including everybody in Baltimore, nobody, look, this is a very severe incident where we need answers. I think the investigation's going on. If they do have answers, they ought to be revealing it to the public.
But the leadership,
we don't know what happened.
What he said is right. The leadership. When this thing happened, 8 days ago when he died, that mayor should have got on there and say, we're fully investigating this. We take leadership. She's not a leader. The police commissioner's not taking a leadership role. And also, when this other lady was here about lethal force, I'll tell you a number. 90% of the kids being killed, the minority kids being killed in Baltimore, are being killed by other blacks. So
let me go to Sheriff David Clark. He's with us as well. Sheriff, you're watching these images. You're watching what we're seeing, the looting, the burning of buildings, the police that are injured here, the cop cars being burned, police in full retreat earlier today.
But we did say police go and actually arrest them. There were about 5 people who were arrested right there in that little pocket, that little area. Police continue to move down.
Gray's twin sister at the press conference pleading with people, saying, please stop the violence. Freddie wasn't a violent person. He wouldn't want this to happen. So it is really sad for their family, and hopefully we will hear from them tonight.
You know, Christy mentioned she was out there at Mandamon Mall, and it was all students out there. Baltimore City schools have announced that they will be closing. Our media partner, the Baltimore Sun, Erica.
Just saw one of the suspects try to make a run for it as he was being placed in the van. At that point, several officers took him down. There were some bystanders here watching what was happening. They started screaming and running towards them. And at that point, you heard the helicopter from above say, back away from the scene, back away, back away. We also saw several officers with their weapons out. This is the first scene that I've personally been at that I've actually seen armed police officers. You can take a look at these businesses. You can see the Metro PCS. The window has been smashed out. All of the items just scattered in the parking lot here. I actually just saw someone jump over that concrete wall, pick up some items, and just run off with them. That's what's happening at this point. There seems to be some activity up not far from where we are. We're going to go check that out and see if there are more problems over in that area. But I don't know if you just heard that, but it sounded as if there was some sort of explosion over towards my left. That's near Johns Hopkins and Kennedy Krieger. We're at Caroline and Oliver right now. You can still hear the helicopter flying overhead. We still have the police officers here with several suspects inside the van. You can take a look, and there are even more suspects on the ground right now, handcuffed with officers standing near them. So that's the very latest from this scene. Again, this is the first time that I've actually seen police officers with their weapons drawn. They didn't fire those weapons, but definitely you get the sense that things are stepping up a little bit as far as the intensity level out here tonight.
All right.
Or Jennifer?
Joy, stay safe. We did hear that noise that sounded like some kind of explosion, and then Joy mentioned the first time that she's seen officers with their weapons drawn in this situation. So again, a sign of an escalating situation.
And as we got later into the night, we discussed this earlier, the dark brings on a whole nother element, and I guarantee you that many of the people who are participating in this in East Baltimore were not in the West Baltimore incident. The news is out. Information is out. So what the mayor and the governor may be forced to do is to move that curfew up so that there can be no one on the street. If this continues, if they continue to have places looted, they continue to have fires set, then despite the logical and logistical reasons of starting the curfew tomorrow, you'll see it immediately moved up. And the governor will probably make that decision once he has the National Guard in town, because he will do it, he will indicate that it is for the safety of the Guard and the other officers that he's bringing in.
All right. A night of looting and fires and unrest and escalating situations in some neighborhoods around the city tonight. We're continuing our live coverage of this night of unrest in Baltimore. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Some reports that they are, in fact, headed down Reisterstown Road, headed for the city. So we're wondering if we get, at some point, get more confirmation on that. Also, an update from Johns Hopkins. And Captain Jeff, stay with us for just a second. 4 reported non-affiliates at Hopkins have left Homewood campus. 1 person has been arrested, still urging their students to remain sheltered in place. Hopkins says they will have more information to come. That is regarding the Homewood campus and a lockdown at the school there.
And I assume, and if you just think about how far away the Maryland National Guard, where they're coming from, they should be on the streets of Baltimore if they go right in within the next 20 to 30 minutes. And that's sort of what we've been waiting to see, if they will deploy tonight. And that's what General Singh had said. They were waiting to hear from city police where they are needed. But that will be a sight to see, reassuring to some, not so reassuring to others, when those up-armored Humvees roll into these streets.
According to Baltimore County, we're getting some reports that another officer has been injured in the area of Mondawmin Mall. We said earlier that 15 officers had been injured. 2 were still in the hospital. Again, we're getting reports that another officer has been injured. Of course, you also have to, think of the safety of the firefighters who are being called in from around the state to help battle these senseless fires going on right now. Also, this car just making loops around the fire. Unclear at this point what the purpose of that is, but I guess much of this doesn't have a purpose at all today. We're also getting reports that some business owners in Fells Point, there was some violence and some looting at a couple of the liquor stores down there. Bartenders we mentioned earlier, the loading dock, that's a very popular place in that area as well. A lot of these people that are apparently allegedly looting are teenagers. And again, as you mentioned, Baltimore City Police and the mayor have said, look, if you're doing this, we have you on camera. We have the footage. Yesterday, they arrested one of the gentlemen one of the men who was jumping on one of the police cars and breaking windows. They arrested him. So the hope is, oh, well, there it goes again, flaming up. The hope is that these people will be caught at some point. It's just a matter of when.
And again, I hope you stay with our coverage. We are close to the 11 o'clock hour where we would have our normal newscast. And at the top of the hour, we are waiting for a press conference at Baltimore Police Headquarters. We are told that Freddie Gray's family will be part of that news conference. Earlier this week, we had heard from Frederica Gray, the twin sister of Freddie Gray, and she had urged the city not to be violent. And we hope tonight that we hear from her or for other family members with a similar message. And then, of course, we hope that it's enough to not have another day, another night of this unrest and this violence.
We're going to go back out live to City Hall, where Derek Valcourt has been standing by. And Derek, you spoke with several of Baltimore's top brass, talking about how this is unacceptable behavior. As you mentioned, they are embarrassed that this is an incredibly poor reflection of Baltimore City as a whole, and a lot of I want to say anger, but I also want to say, as you said, embarrassment and sadness.
Yeah, a sense of real sadness that things have gone in this direction after really the first 6 days of protests were entirely peaceful. And then on Saturday, things took a turn for the worse. We had Sunday without any disruptions. The family of Freddie Gray asked that there not be any protests on Sunday and again today, but obviously that did not go according to plan. A sense of sadness that the city has stooped down for some folks to this level. Some folks have expressed embarrassment, as you said.
To incite violence and destroy our city.
I thought when I was talking to someone off camera, I thought he was with the mayor's office. I believe he was. I couldn't hear him. But I think he was trying to tell me that the mayor is arriving shortly.
Do you need to leave and go check on that? Do you need to?
You know, if I could come back to you, but I feel like I need to check that.
Go ahead, you're a reporter.
Let me just ask you, George, if you can find this out, Okay. We know that the police have increased their numbers, but what about the fire department? Could you let us know when you get a chance?
Will do.
Okay, thanks, George. Okay, now can we let him go do his job?
Well, I'd like to know.
Police Department. We are continuing to redeploy officers across the city to ensure everyone remains safe. That's kind of been their mantra. That's kind of been the message that's been going out all day long. Unfortunately, we're not seeing necessarily the situation getting any better in response, and it just begs that those additional resources are needed, and they're needed now.
And nor are we hearing, really, and you all mentioned this earlier, from Police Commissioner Batts. Everything's being done by proxy right now, so it's a news conference that happened, it's almost 11 o'clock, so almost 3 hours ago. And the citizens of Baltimore, other than the news, really don't know what's going to happen from a legal standpoint, from a policing standpoint, tomorrow into the next day. They've heard something, they're hearing us talk, but they're not getting any kind of updates from those officials, and I wonder what kind of mechanisms need to be put in place so people really can hear directly from those officials.
Yeah, and I think those mechanisms should be put in place. I'm wondering now that the police commissioner is waiting to hear from the state police superintendent, because the governor was so crystal clear that he...
They need to know that their city is safe and not being burned and not being looted and not being robbed, and cops don't get hit with bottles and rocks like they did today.
This governor has to be watching television.
This governor's an idiot.
Why would he call an emergency meeting and now take charge?
No more.
She's obviously not handling it.
Had the executive authority. Send in the National Guard right now.
Yeah. Let me go back to this protester we have, Adam Jackson. Adam, look, I understand your anger and your grievance, etc., but you can't support this. This is the city of Baltimore, the people that have grown up here, the overwhelming majority of citizens that are scared to death in their homes tonight watching all of this. You should, as a protester and a leader, are you not going to go out there and say, stop the looting, stop the burning, stop the violence?
As I mentioned before, first and foremost, I'm not a protester. I'm a grassroots activist working on the ground in that city. That's my city. That's
officially, a grassroots activist, yes.
Right. But when we talk about the violence and we talk about the looting, my point is that when you look at this, this is just a small piece of what's been happening to black people. People like Tyrone West, Monet Turnage, Anthony Anderson, Freddie Gray, and other black people, they've been slaughtered by police for decades. There have been public policies put in place that have slaughtered black people and killed black people.
Let me ask you this. We're running out of time. Adam, do you know specifically what happened to Freddie Gray? You don't. Nobody knows right now. We do need answers. I'd like to know what happened. The family would like to know what happened. They have a right to know what happened, but you don't know. So you're jumping to conclusion. And by the way, let me go back to Bo and Mike Myers and Sheriff Clark. One of the problems here is the president, just like in the Michael Brown case, he doesn't know what happened, but he's sending White House representatives to the funeral, just like he did in the Michael Brown case. Doesn't that send a message?
But he's not having a civil rights investigation of those threats from the black organizations.
Yeah, but right now, if the president of the United States is watching what's going on, I'm kind of glad the president's getting involved with this, because this is out of control.
Well, where's the president, Sheriff Clark? Why is he not going before the camera saying, stop the violence? Yeah. Innocent people need to be protected. Why isn't he sending National Guard troops there as the city of Baltimore burns tonight, Sheriff?
Well, I don't think he wants to get anywhere near this. He doesn't want any of this stain on him. But we
he
need to know
want to
who's in
protect the
charge
people
in
there?
Baltimore right now. You know, your guest there said that the cops have been slaughtering black people for decades. No, black people have been slaughtering other black people for decades. And really this needs to be laid at the foot of the Democrat politicians who have been in firm control of cities like Baltimore and other urban cities across America, and it is these failed liberal government policies that have made people dependent on government, and our government doesn't have any answers for the high unemployment, the failing schools, the entrenched poverty, and so this is what you end up with. Elijah Cummings stood in the well of a church today.
In the less than minute we have, Sheriff Clark, let me ask you, you know the facts as they've been presented. What do you think the city should be communicating to the people about Freddie Gray, or do you even think this is connected to Freddie Gray?
Well, no, I don't think this is connected to Freddie Gray. First of all, Sean, job one is to restore order in the streets. Right. Some of the other things going on with the investigation can probably be communicated at the same time. They have to clear the streets of vehicular traffic and pedestrian traffic to let this thing simmer down and get control of the streets. But as long as these people are allowed to mingle in the streets, and there's curfew starting tomorrow. All right,
Sheriff, I got to let you go. Sheriff, thank you. Leland Vitter, great job tonight. Mike Myers, Bo Dietl, and everybody else. We go now to the family that's holding a press conference, and that'll be followed by Shep.
It's 11 p.m. now in Baltimore, where Hannity mentioned that the family is to begin a news conference in just a moment. This is Fox News Channel's live coverage. These are live pictures there where our Leland Vittert has been reporting, and these pictures courtesy of WJZ Television, our network news service affiliate in Baltimore, where cars have been riding in and out of these fires, in some cases setting vehicles on fire and continuing the mayhem across the city of Baltimore, especially here in West Baltimore where we're looking, and in East Baltimore. Now, here's what's coming live as we join you in the late night hours. We're expecting a police news conference to begin almost immediately. And during that police news conference, we are hoping that we will get an explanation for why the police are standing and watching this happen. We can only assume that the police have reasons for standing back. Do they not have enough manpower? Do they not have the orders to go? Are they waiting for the National Guard? We simply do not know. We know that the governor says that 30 seconds after the mayor of Baltimore asked him to call up the National Guard during the 6 p.m. hour Eastern time tonight, that the governor did exactly that, waiting for some 500 National Guardsmen to come to Baltimore from inside the state of Maryland and another 5,000 from outside the state of Maryland. At 10 o'clock tonight, 1 hour ago, the Baltimore City Police confirmed shots were fired at an officer in the area of Virginia Avenue and in Registerstown, which is right here in West Baltimore. The police report that the officer was not hit and the suspect fled. 15 police officers were injured today, according to the police, with school-aged children in a clash that began around 3 o'clock Baltimore time this afternoon. 2 officers remained in the hospital as of last reporting 2 hours ago. One of them was initially listed as unresponsive. The number of arrests was earlier listed as 27, but we're hoping to hear from the police just moments from now. In addition, we're waiting to hear from Freddie Gray's family, who are said to be shocked and horrified by what they're seeing tonight. Freddie Gray, of course, the man who died while in police custody under circumstances which are unknown to us. And we're waiting to hear from Freddie Gray's family as well. In this city where police have struggled since this afternoon to take control back from, as the mayor put it, thugs who only want to incite violence. Thugs who, as you've been watching, are running rampant in parts of the city. And here's what our correspondent Leland Vittert saw not long ago.
Are you guys watching this picture? Did you just see that?
Coming back, Danica. Danica, get out of the way. You know it.
Steve! Steve, get down, get back, get up on the stairs. Are you watching this, guys? Are they watching this?
Back.
Steve, are you watching this?
We were indeed watching and listening to political commentary during Hannity and watching as all of this was unfolding. It appears, our understanding of what happened is that these people stole a car and ran it through the fire. This fire eventually burned up the car. A live look on the streets of Baltimore now, West Baltimore, where the fires continue to burn. In the last couple of hours, we also saw firefighters battling with a massive building fire, one of the few that has been burning across the city. This one, a 5-story senior center sponsored by a Baptist church, which was being put up for the good of the community and burned tonight. It is the latest chapter in what's turned out to be a day filled with unrest. Maryland's governor has declared a state of emergency and called out the National Guard. Baltimore's mayor announcing a 10 p.m. curfew that starts for reasons that are beyond us tomorrow, not tonight. A little reminder of how today's events have unfolded. When all of this started during our newscast some 8 hours ago at 3 o'clock this afternoon Baltimore time, we saw large groups of juveniles, apparently who'd just gotten out of school, as the cops called them, throwing rocks, bricks, and other items at the officers. The officers, some of them, picked up the rocks that were thrown at them and threw them back at the rioters. Police have been tweeting that rock throwing and bottle throwing is all still going on. They say more than a dozen officers hurt today. We told you 15 was the official number from police earlier. Again, a news conference to begin shortly. We hope to get updated numbers. We also witnessed rioters setting fire to cop cars and looting businesses and stores, store after store after store. We saw them outside. And what we could not see, because it was inside, is the looting of the mall where all of this began, the mall at Mondawmin Mall, where store after store after store, according to police, was looted. The looters all got there in their cars, did their damage, and then left in their cars before police could return. Police had also tweeted some people even cut one of the fire department's hoses as the crews were trying to put out the fire. Our Leland Vittert is back on the streets. When the news conferences begin, we'll take you there. And now they're throwing again, Leland.
Exactly, Shep. These are liquor bottles that they looted from about 150 yards in front of where the police are, the same place that all those fires you saw burning, and then also where you saw the car crash and everything else. And then they grabbed the liquor bottles. I'm surprised there's actually liquor bottles left in any of these liquor stores, because there's been so much walking out. And then they walked down, threw them at the police, and walked back. This is the very same area that we've been seeing this go on for a very long time. We've got another police armored car moving up here, up the street. Dave and I have gotten off the sidewalk. But what's interesting here, Shep, is that if you see the battle line, you've got the police here, and they've really retreated. At about 9 o'clock this evening, we started down here at this street corner where you see the burning cars that were crashed. And there's a number of different businesses there. There's a mini mart, 2 liquor stores. We talked to some of the owners who were near tears at the fact that their stores had been looted, their livelihoods destroyed, and the residents around here feel the very same way. The police line used to be at that corner right down there. There was a whole lot of police officers down there, all the riot guys, and at some point they were given the order to retreat, and that's when they've retreated all the way back down where we are and where we're walking now. As nightfall has come, it has gotten increasingly violent and increasingly unpredictable out here in this environment.
The weird thing, Leland,
and that's
is
one of the reasons we're
I
staying
only see a handful of demonstrators. Have police attempted to effect an arrest in any way?
Well, Shep, if you remember earlier, we talked in the 8 o'clock hour, and they certainly arrested the looters at a number of the stores. We saw them, there was a deal store that was looted, and the police had enough force that they were able to come in and arrest those looters, but it was 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s that were being arrested. Out here, you have so many agitators, and you're in a much more dense population. It's a lot more difficult for the police to react, and whether they've been told not to and told to hold their fire, or this is a command decision being made right here on the ground, we don't know. We're going to stay a little bit farther back.
Can we listen to whatever this guy is screaming at these police officers?
We've talked to this guy before. He claims that he was beat by police a couple of weeks ago. He claims that he's been a victim to the police, and a lot of the folks that we talk to around here claim the very same thing. They say that they've been victims of police violence, or they know people who have been victims of police violence. At the same time, the residents up and down the street that we've talked to say they don't think this type of violence, and call it protesting if you want, or rioting, is going to solve anything. And they think that their voices are not going to be heard. Obviously, a lot of the folks, though, that we talk to who are participating in these acts of violence tell us, well, all we want is answers to Freddie Gray. And then you say to them, well, how is participating in this activity either shouting at the police, or, as you can see down there, they're throwing more rocks and bottles
let's
at the
go to the live
car
aerials, if you would, of that fire. Lena, excuse me. The live aerials of the fire we're watching as demonstrators are throwing more and more accelerants onto that fire. And of course, as we do that, the chopper picture pulls out. But and then another live camera here, that's it. I certainly don't understand why police who are clearly heavily armed and clearly have their shields would allow this to continue. Do you have a sense for why that? The news conference by police, by the way, delayed 15 minutes. You're not missing it. We'll take that live the minute it happens. But this is a remarkable scene. They clearly have the numbers here, but they're not arresting.
Oh, they clearly have the numbers, and behind the police line you saw are a whole lot more of them, a whole lot more of those armored cars. But so far, at least, we haven't seen anything happen. The police line's parting right now. We're going to step back here because this guy is really hauling it up here. We don't know what he's doing, if he's going towards the police or not. We're going to watch this. She's coming up here. Obviously, the police are pretty agitated by what's going on here. She's spinning around here. When the police, it appears now, I don't know if they heard us talking or something else, but they are now beginning a slow walk here.
Well, you wonder what they would have done had she just crashed through the police line. We'd have quite a situation then, wouldn't we?
I was thinking, well, I was thinking the same thing. It looks now like there's a fire truck coming through. Conceivably, that might be to go put out the fires that are down here. This is the car that, the police car that had been pelted with everything that they held their fire from. It's come back up. Go ahead and check out this view right here. That was the police car that was pelted. It's unusual to think that you could pelt a police car with bottles of liquor that you have looted as they watched you loot, and then all of a sudden the police car turns around and drives back the other way. It obviously does not inspire much confidence here in the residents, and that's certainly the sentiment that we've heard from them, that they just don't trust the police, and they're very, very clearly, at least tonight, not doing anything.
Leland, as we continue to watch, Judge Andrew Napolitano is with us, our senior judicial analyst. I want to stay on the live pictures, but Judge, if I'm an instigator or an agitator or a rioter out there and I see the police doing nothing, I might feel like I have a license.
You would, and it's inexplicable why the police are doing nothing. It's one thing, Shep, for them to be restrained. It's another thing for them to witness crimes and to make no arrests, which almost has the effect of encouraging it. They must know something that we don't. Their bosses, their brass must know something that we don't, but it seems inexplicable to us. Perhaps it's the same mentality that decided to wait 24 hours before imposing the curfew.
Yeah, tell us about it, Leland. What's this?
The police have now moved up. You saw those two guys come up with their liquor bottles they'd stolen, and now the police are beginning their walk down. That's definitely tear gas that's popping off. And you can smell it and you can feel it. There's more looted liquor bottles that are flying here at the police, and the police are now making that slow march back down to where they were a couple of hours ago, where they retreated, maybe to put out the fire. We've got a couple fire trucks up here. And it is an eerie watch. Looters run back down, and as the line has moved, we've stayed up here on the stoop. Sometimes you don't really want to get in between those two groups, and the police have decided now suddenly to move forward. I'm sorry, Shep, go ahead.
I said a great view. Cameraman come in and get an idea and what unfolds.
You can also hear it. You could hear off what's being beanbag rounds, tear gas rounds, that kind of thing. I haven't heard any live ammunition go off, and Dave's been doing a job out here tonight under some very trying circumstances.
We're going to keep watching. The mayor is now. Let's listen to her.
I spent a big portion of the day working to assemble additional resources so we could bring calm to the city. We worked on making sure that we got the executive order right to be able to give people enough time to know that we were putting the curfew in place. We worked with the school system to make it, since the schools were going to be closed, as to make sure they're right.
Then there was someone who said having troops on the street.
We will bring order. It's very clear that I'm not interested in exacerbating the situation. My goal is to bring calm. But we will have order, and we will have peace, because there are too many of us in Baltimore who believe that Baltimore is much better
than what you're seeing today.
What do you say to the pastor of this church that specifically says not enough was done soon enough?
This particular fire is under investigation. We don't know if it is related to the riots. With respect to
what you're saying is done, what do you say to him?
Now, we are responding to incidents all throughout the city. This is a horrible incident that we certainly didn't want to see happen, but we are, like I said, responding all over the city, and we work very hard to respond swiftly to this one.
Madam Mayor, it's clear that you wanted to allow people to protest. Do you regret that decision now to allow them to protest so freely, or do you stand by your decision to allow people to express themselves in the way you have done?
Listen, I'm going to protect people's right to protest. The fact that people exploited that does not mean that I do not have an obligation to protect people's right to protest. I never said, nor would I ever say, that we are giving people space to destroy our city. So my words should not be twisted.
Okay, so there you heard it. That was Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake speaking about...
Well, as the mayor was speaking, a car came and rushed toward that fire, came around the fire in the center of the street and looped right in front of the line of police officers, and it was a terrifying moment. Leela, agree that your cameraman can push in and give us a view on that? We appreciate all that you're doing out there. It's pretty clear that they're moving in.
They're moving in, Shep. What's interesting is that where they are right now is where they started at 9 o'clock tonight. And they retreated, and then we saw over the past couple of hours what unfolded, which was looting, rioting, stolen cars being driven into crowds. It was stunning cars, and why all of a sudden police decided to move down there and they've brought the fire trucks and cars. It's because it's inside with the news conference or they've been given dinners. That's something about, but this level mayhem, and residents down this street that I talked to were ferociously angry. Police allowed this to happen to their corners, and obviously the folks who own these stores were angry as well. Talked to a couple of them who were, if you look at now, stores on fire. That liquor store on the left, if we can push in a little bit just above the fire truck, that's on fire now. So not only do we have the cars on fire, we've got the buildings on fire.
And we all have a situation where these cars wants to, it can render those police officers. Jesse. Stores that shut afternoon as it that went all over the internet from school kids that they were planning to start at the mall and move to the avenue and back to downtown, that with all of that warning and all of that heads up, they took them and took an hour for the mayor even to ask the call in of the National Guard. And that now it's 17 minutes past 11 at night, fires are burning all over the west of Baltimore, cars are taunting police officers, cops are trying to retake ground, and we're waiting to hear from the police about how bad it is beyond the view of our cameras. It is truly an astounding night. There is no comparison between what happened here and what happened in Ferguson. It may look similar to you on television, but in Ferguson it was a 2-block area. Here we're talking about a large swath of this city, the western part of Baltimore and the eastern part of Baltimore, and chaos reigns. And in Ferguson, they appeared to attempt to quell the violence. Here, they appear to be allowing thugs to burn things down. Do they not have enough people? We don't know. We're expecting a news conference from police to begin in just a couple of moments, and a news conference from the family of Freddie Gray, who died in police custody, to begin as well. They've been calling for calm all day. Steve Dorsey's on the line with us. He's a freelance reporter who sometimes works for Fox News. Says he was reporting in front of the CVS pharmacy. Remember the one that burned this afternoon? When somebody threw him to the ground and punched him. He just got out of the hospital in the last hour. Steve, what happened?
Good evening, Shep. Yeah, I was struck in the face by a lone protester. or Ryder, now you can call him, and he punched me in the right side of my face. I fell to the ground unexpected, and he took my phone, was about to kick me as I was down, and a few other bystanders intervened, tried to separate me from him and help me walk injured to a safe area where I could make it back to a local TV station to get some help.
So it was the bystanders who saved you from worse.
Absolutely. It could have gotten much worse. I remember him beginning to kick me, and several other folks joined in, like that mob mentality that we've really been seeing all evening.
You getting better? What'd they say at the hospital?
Well, I checked from behind. I do have an injured left knee. I have to get some surgery on it, but I'm more concerned about the city of Baltimore, where I was born and raised, where I've been a reporter for a number of years. And inside that ER, let me tell you, Shep, there were a lot of injured people. The nurses there were telling me how busy, how chaotic the emergency room was. I was seeing police officers coming in, many of them injured. Some of them were discharged. One had a sling on his left arm. Others, including protesters, were there, accompanied by police guards as well.
Steve Dorsey, who got roughed up this afternoon, is out of the hospital tonight. Steve, thanks. Hope you're well. Watching now as the photographer zooms in on this scene in Baltimore, trying to retake the area where they were before, we've all been commenting about the same thing now when our mics aren't turned on. And that's a good police officer friend of mine from New York City just texted me and said, I can't believe they're trained to go forward in a straight line like the Redcoats in the 1700s. It was a tactic with which a lot of police officers are not that familiar because, frankly, it's not what they're trained to do, at least not around here. They're clearly trying to make a way for these firefighters to get past the police line and to the fires, but on the other side of the fires are more demonstrators. Leland, it's not like they've gone anywhere, have they?
Well, the demonstrators certainly haven't, and they have the upper hand here. They know these streets, and the police have been playing this very dangerous game, for lack of a better term, of almost like whack-a-mole, because they get one area contained, and then the demonstrators pop up somewhere else. We don't know how many individual demonstrators there are, but remember, we've watched stores be looted all afternoon, and there were a lot of folks running out of Target and the dollar store and other places with the five-finger discount. So there have been a lot of people who have been taking advantage of this. The idea that there's just a few instigators is not the case, certainly here. And we've seen the crowd grow and the level of violence grow here. And we can see now that the police have clearly cordoned off a much larger area, and they have to, because of that liquor store being on fire. They've had to be able to bring in the fire trucks. Remember, the fire started with just some burning chairs and those kinds of things. Then they added the cars they stole and crashed into them. The liquor bottles they looted and used as accelerants. So the liquor they didn't drink, they lit on fire. And now we've got fires in buildings, and that's what
I got to cut you off, Leland, right now, because our crew, Rick Leventhal and his crew, are also on scene. It's my understanding have been attacked on scene, but Rick's on the line with us. You guys are okay?
Yeah, we're all fine, Shepard. We were at Fulton Street, North Avenue. There were a couple of cars on fire, and a line of police in riot gear. We got out to report on the scene, and there are a lot of people in the street who were very upset just that are being there. And we got harassed by some people, and some people started following us and yelling at us, and then people started throwing bottles at us from in front of their homes, large bottles crashing at our feet and over our heads. It got really hairy, and the police were in a line focused on North Avenue and not on what's happening on Fulton. So we managed to make our way back to our vehicle and get out. And I just want to say that there are similar scenes like that in this area of West Baltimore. We've noticed numerous fire trucks, some fires burning. Most of the city is fine. We drove through downtown. It was very quiet and fine, most of Baltimore. But this area of West Baltimore is still hot. And there are a lot of people who are angry and a lot of people who are lashing out, not just at police, but also at any media in the street.
Any of you guys injured, Rick?
No, we're all fine.
All right. I guess it just sort of happened kind of quick and you didn't realize it was coming on you.
Well, our job is to cover what's happening, and we got out to do that. We We parked the vehicle, we moved out, we had our camera and a microphone, and I'm happy to talk to these people about why they're upset, you know, but they didn't want to really talk. They just wanted to yell at us and start throwing
until it's put to rest. Reporting live from the State's Operations Center in Reisterstown, David Collins, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, David, thanks so much. And right now we're going to go to 11 News I-Team lead investigative reporter Jane Miller. She has been all over town today.
Yep.
We're going to George Levis first. We're going, all right, let's go back to the fire scene and George Levis. George.
Well, hey there, Donna. Yes, the mayor left here a few moments ago, and again, she clarified the fact that they don't know definitively if this huge building fire
event that this occur on everybody's part.
Post 9/11, with the amount of money that's been spent on Homeland Security, with the
seem to be jeopardized at this time in any case?
No, we were wondering about that earlier. It's actually right in the middle of the intersection, far enough away from the building, so nothing was ever in danger. And you can see at the top of your screen, those are police officers. I know it's dark down there, but you can see them lining up. Those are police officers. There are police officers on all sides of this intersection protecting the fire department, allowing them to do their job, much like they have done all night with the fires around the city.
I assume that spotlight that we're seeing is a police chopper going over the scene as well, correct?
That is, there's a number of police helicopters flying over the city, circling around, and this one appears to be one of the city police helicopters right here.
Is this one of the only fires you see as you were flying in, actively burning still at this time?
It is. There's still the fire that Christy was reporting on. When we did fly over it, we saw some smoldering, but we haven't been back over to that scene. We could still see a lot of lights from the fire department over there. And here we go. We're getting some water onto this fire. This fire will be out in no time. And then what we're going to do once we leave this fire, we're going to go try to find the National Guard. We understand they're coming down Reisterstown Road, and hopefully we can find them and show that to you shortly.
All right. And of course, this leaves us thinking about massive amounts of cleanup after all of this rioting. Thank you, Captain Jeff Long. Thank you.
Now, as we've been telling you, there was a news conference at New Shiloh Baptist Church with Freddie Gray's family and his family attorney, Billy Murphy. Let's listen in to a portion of that news conference that took place and is taking place right now.
Men from all walks of life, they came together because to a person, they are interested in stopping this violence, and to a person, they are interested in ending police brutality, and to a person, they have a vital stake in this, a personal stake. Let me ask you all a question that we asked earlier tonight. How many of you know somebody close to you or yourselves have been victims of police brutality? Please raise your hand. Look all around.
Back to you guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Catherine Harley reporting live. We're waiting.
Still working, as you can see behind me. Can you see that water above my head? I think it can. The ladders are still working to reduce the hot spots here at this building that was under construction.
And we are concerned about regular emergencies that could come up on any given day of the week, but here the mayor is talking with someone out here on the scene. There are a lot of questions, and I you know what, Dr. Bowers, tonight may not be the night for it.
Yeah, I'm here at Federal Street at the site of this massive fire. What do you mean police don't do anything?
I mean, they form a line. People come and taunt them. They don't attempt to arrest them. They just kind of take it.
Well, I think in the beginning of the night, they were perhaps taken, rather, during the afternoon, they were perhaps taken by surprise at the intensity of the crowd. They had a number of SWAT officers there, but that number perhaps wasn't enough. Later, when reinforcements came, then they began to make arrests. I know there was some concern at some point as people ran down alleys about going into the alleys or perhaps being caught in there. I'll say this from several reporters who are witnessing it: the kids attacking the police were much more fearless than the police.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. We watched it live, playing out at about 3:15, 3:20 this afternoon. The young people overran the police, and it happened fast.
Yeah, it did. The city perhaps was caught off guard by this, and now there's 5,000 police officers coming in from outside the city. The National Guard is coming in, state police. There's going to be a massive show of force, from what I understand. A lot of city officers are extremely tired that are needing relief from these outside agencies. There's still, I understand, quite a battle raging to the west of us, where I am right now. I'm at the scene of the fire.
Moments ago, as of 11 p.m., approximately 10 Maryland National Guard trucks have been dispatched from the Reisterstown, Maryland Armory, consisting of approximately 100 soldiers headed to aid in downtown Baltimore. That's pursuant to the state of emergency declared by Governor Larry Hogan earlier today. The exact location where they headed remains unclear. NBC's Ron Allen is out on the streets of Baltimore right now, joins us live with the latest. Ron, where are you and what are you seeing?
Well, Chris, we're in West Baltimore, and we're watching a fire that's burning in the middle of an intersection. I think you have a live picture of it from our camera here. There's a line of police in riot gear. There must be about 20 or 30 of them here, and they've blocked off this street. And there are fire apparatus down there trying to put this out. Above us, there's a helicopter flying overhead as well, trying to illuminate the area. And we've been hearing what sounds like small explosions, almost like gunshot pops in the distance, by that I mean a couple blocks away, behind us. So we're sort of standing here kind of just trying to stay out of the way and just see what develops here. This fire has been burning for some time now, and a lot of smoke rising. They kind of put it out. It seems to be garbage or trash in the middle of the street. There was some reports of a store burn, but we're being kept a couple of blocks away, and we can't get down there to see exactly what it is. But the bottom line is that the police are, and the police and riot gear are just trying to keep this area clear and watch their backs and watch these side streets coming into this main intersection to let the firefighters do their work safely. But there seems to be a group of people down there. I can hear some yelling and screaming. I saw some people running around in the streets. Not sure exactly what's going on. Problem here tonight in Baltimore, it's unclear exactly what's going on in a lot of these little hot pocket corners. We've been driving around for the past couple of hours, and we've seen fires. We've seen police blocking off streets. We've seen a number of people arrested, taken down. One man who was making a U-turn in front of a phalanx of officers, and he apparently got too close or said the wrong thing, and they took him out of his car and took him off to try to ease things down. We've been talking to a lot of residents out here who are angry and frustrated and mad about the whole situation, not just obviously about Freddie Gray, but about this the situation that at this point I don't think anybody really has a handle on exactly where this is going. I said earlier that it feels like we're at the beginning of the situation, not even the middle, and certainly not the end.
Ron, I'm gonna jump in here. We have the police commissioner of Baltimore, Anthony Batts, speaking right now.
Staged in or around Mondawmin Mall at the time that the youth got out of school. They congregated on the north side of the mall. We moved up what we call platoons to that area. My officers started sustaining cinder brick damage, stones.
First round of the process is completed, then we facilitate respectful and
damage in their bodies by flying debris, rocks, sticks, bottles, anything that these what appeared to be high school students in our school system did out there within the streets. As our officers proceeded to push them out of that area, they moved down to the area of North and Pensy, where them and others attacked a police car, broke out the window, stomped on it. I think you have information on that. Very concerned that I had an officer trapped in that vehicle. The officer had removed themselves and had shelters in place in a nearby store. We were able to get resources down there to push that crowd away from that area. They ended up south at Pensy, in North Street, and you can see that they started to ransack CVS in criminal acts of vandalism and taking of property. We were able to assemble resources from out of town to get up there in a rapid manner. we took that corner back as we sustained Mondawmin Mall and made sure that it was stable. We were able to move those resources down to Pincy from a northern direction, moving southward. We then brought other resources that moved from the south northward to Pincy, and we took that intersection back. We started to push in a westbound direction as we saw more looting taking place just west of that area. As we moved a large contingent by that time, we had pretty close to about 500 to 600 police officers that were moving in that direction. I was very much pleased and surprised that we had ministers that came out with Congressman Elijah Cummings, tried to calm the area and calm the young people in that community that was just totally destroying the places where they have to live. And tomorrow they have to go to those same stores that they tore apart. And those stores that were burnt down and damaged are the same infrastructure that the people have to survive with in that neighborhood in the next month, the next 2 months, next 3 months. After that, we began to have trouble at Lexington Market. We responded approximately about 50 officers, excuse me, it's been a long day, 50 officers to Lexington Market, where we secured that and didn't sustain much damage. We then got calls later off of the 1700 block of Monument that we had looting there. We responded multiple units over there to sustain that area. We're seeing a number of small car fires. We're seeing a number of street fires, basically in Pennsylvania, Fulton area again, which has been the cornerstone of the problem the vast majority of the day. Those are the key points. I think we're still getting control of the Pincy area. Mondawmin Mall has been secured. We did have break-ins there. We responded officers up there. We have a number of arrests that came out of there. So we have most of the officers that were in the hospital are doing better. I think for the vast majority, the city is calming itself down slowly but surely, other than the car fires and the street fires. When I came down, I think I was reported a fire in the 1700 block of Monument. Suffice it to say, I am extremely disappointed in what has happened in this beautiful city tonight. I'm disappointed in the fact that the damage has been done to these communities. I'm disappointed that we cannot be more responsible in an embarrassment that we have nationwide in our community. This is not protesting. This is not your First Amendment rights. This is just criminal acts doing damage to a community that is challenged in some ways, that do not need this and do not need to be harmed in the way that we have today. I am proud of the officers who were out there sustaining rocks and bottles, who were hit in the head, who were sent to the hospital, and their courage to standing tall in light of all the things. I applaud the outside agencies that came to support us, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Howard County, and state police. So I sincerely appreciate that support. I look forward to having more support coming tomorrow from around the region. I had put out calls to Washington, D.C., Philadelphia. We had to go through the state to get those numbers up, but we're getting the numbers coming, so we're looking forward to that support.
You mean officers from D.C.?
We couldn't get officers from D.C. because we have a state-to-state compact and had to go through state police.
How about the National Guard? I heard those assets will be coming in.
National Guard, they're on the ground now here within our city. What we're going to use them for is holding structures and fixed posts. What you can see is when we go into a location, we start pushing a direction, we need to have fixed posts behind us or they retake the areas that we push out of. So having those number of assets are good and strong. I know I heard a question earlier, did we plan for it? Yes, we planned for it. That wasn't the issue. We just had too many people out there to overcome the numbers that we had to sustain the issue overall.
Could you differentiate between the student actions and the gang threat, the credible threat that was issued earlier?
Can I do what with it?
Separate the two. Are they related, are they connected, or not at all? From what you know.
From what I know, we had Black Guerrilla families. The Bloods and the Crips had a meeting yesterday, validated and verified when they said at the conclusion of Mr. Gray's funeral day, each group was intended to kill and take out a police officer.
Commissioner, should you have given the protesters, it's cold outside, Commissioner, should you have given protesters that much room, that much latitude over the last few days, and did that in any way kind of play into this?
I don't think we gave them much room or latitude on Saturday. The protests were peaceful for the vast majority of the time until at 6 o'clock you had a group splinter off and made its way south. They didn't get reckless or problematic till they got to the northeast corner of the baseball stadium, to which they started to then act up. We moved resources that were already down in this area to take care of the larger crowd to address them. We did address them, and we took them to jail. We prepared today for a Mondawmin corridor. We didn't give them room. I was there. I saw our reaction, and I gave them direction to advance on them. They just outnumbered us and outflanked us. We needed to have more resources there.
Do you have not updated respond forcefully or aggressively here?
No, that's not the case. On Saturday, we were giving them space to have the First Amendment rights. When they started breaking windows and doing criminality, that's when we changed our attitude to engage them, to arrest those who were causing harm. What we did today is that we deployed pepper balls because of the bricks and the glass and the stones that were coming in. And so as we did that, it pushed them. But with the Youth for Kids, they started running around in rapid manners, and so we had to adjust to that.
Why wait until tomorrow to enact a curfew?
I'll get to you 1 second. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Updated numbers on the number of officers injured, number of arrests made.
I don't have the official numbers. I was told there was about 15 officers injured, and out of that 15, there were 6 that were seriously injured. Shock trauma, I went over and I think I saw 6 officers in shock trauma and talked to them and told them how proud I was and how courageous they were to stand tall for our city as a whole.
And how many arrests?
We'll get you the numbers.
We will get you the numbers later. I don't have them right now, Colin. I'm sorry. Sir, you were asking a question?
Why wait until tomorrow to enact the curfew?
I think we were just kind of overlapping the curfew with National Guard and their ability to get here. It's one to put a curfew there and not be able to enforce it. So when they come out, we have the capabilities and ability to enforce a curfew that's out there. I'll get right to you, Jane. I'm sorry. One second. I'll get right back to you. We have had shots fired in the Northwest District. We had a commercial robbery that took place. As officers arrived on scene, there was a guy running out of the back, fired multiple shots at officers. No one was hit at this time. I'm sorry, Jane.
These are not outsiders tonight. These were high school students.
These are our Baltimore Youth Bowl residents. A number of them came right out of the local high schools there on the other side of Mondawmin. Started engaging in this, and if you saw on one scene, you had one mother who grabbed their child who had a hood on his head, and she started smacking him on the head because she was so embarrassed. I wish I had more parents that took charge of the kids out there tonight.
What can you do in the school system? When you think about like at certain high schools, they came out of at the mall. Are there any meetings tomorrow with the school officials? I know there's no school tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow, I mean, what's the plan to try to deal with this at the school level?
I had talked to Dr. Thornton, who runs the school district, last night, knowing that this was going to happen. We talked, when I reached out to school personnel, I was told that they plan to have a teachable moment today. There's no doubt in my mind that they probably engaged the young people to have them not act in the manner in which they did, to which we have young adults here who are 15, 16, 17. They know right from wrong. They're not 2-year-old kids or 3-year-old kids. They had independent actions that they did, and they're going to be responsible for those actions.
Are you worried? Time for 2 more questions.
Are you worried that this will get worse tomorrow?
I don't know if it's going to get worse. I think the curfew is going to help us to get the city under control. The extra resources is the biggest issue for us. I know people would compare us to Ferguson. Ferguson is a much smaller city. Baltimore is almost close to about 80 square miles. And when we have multiple areas popping up, we have to have the resources and the numbers. What you saw tonight is that we were pulled so thin, whether at Lexington Market, whether at Pensy in North or at Monument, we had opposite ends of the city pulling us at the same time. So extra resources here will allow us to get on top of the issues at multiple locations.
And the fire on the other side of the city.
Connected to the gang threat. That was a question earlier, but we didn't really
I'm sorry. No, what did you say?
Was the start of the violence connected to that gang?
No,
threat?
I don't think that was connected at all. I just think these were youth that coming out of high school, and they thought it was cute to throw cinder blocks at the police department and to address it that way.
Fire related?
The fire at CVS was related to the looting. We don't know that issue, and that's a shame too. You have a center there that is going to make a difference for our elderly, to make a difference for people who are in need, and there it's burned down, and those people work so hard for that. That is just a shame. That is sad.
Your message for tomorrow?
My message is that this is our city, that we have to live here, and that when you destroy your infrastructure, I've seen cities that haven't recovered 50 years later, like the city of Watts, that are still starting to recover. And for those parents who have kids that are out there that came off that campus, take control of your kids. This is our city. Let's make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll continue to keep everyone updated as we can throughout the night.
The police spokesman now 15 minutes to midnight in Baltimore, and the sad reality of it all is just coming to our faces. He said they knew yesterday it was coming, They had every warning. They made every preparation. And their police department got overrun, and they couldn't handle it. Leland Vittert's on scene. Leland?
No, that's exactly what we've seen, and the police now are moving back from where they were. Remember, they pushed out from their lines that we saw earlier all the way down to where the stolen cars and the car fires and the looted liquor stores that the police just talked about were. And when they got down there with the fire trucks, as the police news conference was going on, the police here were getting pelted with stolen liquor bottles by these very same kids. What's interesting is that you get a sense that the people who are involved in this are, the police now are just moving us back here a little bit. So we're going to move back with them. They've done a great job keeping us safe out here. What's interesting is that the people who are doing this live on these streets. And it's the same thing that the police said. Everyone we've talked to on these streets, they're angry at these kids who have participated in this kind of behavior and have stolen and looted and done those things. It's clear that the police are tired. They've had a very long day, a rough day, and now we are basically back to where we started a while ago. You just maybe heard the police all yelled hold, and the riot lines have taken place once again. Now we wait, Shep, and see if the folks who you're watching right now line up by those burned out cars and by the looted liquor store and the looted mini mart, whether those rioters then make their way back down here and start attacking the police once again, as we've seen them do for the past 4 or 5 hours.
Well, it is a sad state of affairs that the police can't just arrest them. I mean, throwing a rock at a police officer, that's assault on an LEO, and they could certainly knack them up pretty quick. But I'm guessing the fear is that the others would go kind of crazy, and then they'd have a riot on their hands again.
Well, that certainly seems like the fear out here, and we have not seen in all of this rock throwing and all of this bottle throwing, we haven't seen any arrests. In fact, there was one man who had been shot with a beanbag round for presumably throwing something at a police officer, and he was back standing there taunting the police officers and showing us his wounds. So it gave you the feeling that making arrests, at least in this area, wasn't the priority. And for lack of a better term, the police had decided to take it rather than to move forward and take on the protesters. And whether that decision proves fruitful, and whether this is the beginning and the middle and the end of the riots tonight, they could prove to be right, or we could look back at this and say if only they had really responded aggressively and got a handle on it quickly and laid down the law, so to speak, and taught these kids a lesson that if you throw bottles at the police and you throw stones at the police and you loot liquor stores, you're going to get arrested and it's not cute, then things may be different in the morning.
Leland Vittert, who's on scene with us, along with photographer Stephen Kanika, who is there with him. They're risking a lot out there. I was listening to Leland. I want to get to the pastor, Ben Malman, right now. But so a synopsis from the police chief and from Leland. They knew it was coming. They were out there and ready for it. It overwhelmed them and they couldn't stop it. After they couldn't stop it, they stood back and watched it as hoodlums destroyed a neighborhood. That's sad and that's scary. Let's bring in Ben Malman. He's the pastor of the City Bible Church in Baltimore, been involved in cleanup efforts since the protest started. Says the message he wants to convey tonight is hope. It's hard to find that message, sir. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, Shepherd, it is. This is heartbreaking. It's tragic, and we believe that Jesus is the answer, and that Baltimore is full of amazing people that know how to work hard and endure with hope.
Sounds like there's been a problem brewing around there for the better part of the last decade and a half or more, and it wasn't addressed. Not that there's any excuse for anything going on tonight. That's not what I mean at all. It's just that there's been an underlying current in this community that the people don't have hope, and that the man's putting them down.
Yeah, every city has its challenges, and there is systematic brokenness in this area. And it's
what do you mean by that, systematic brokenness?
Well, we are in an area where there is a lot of urban poverty, and compared to other cities, the city limits geographically are very small, and so the tax base is smaller than other places such as Jacksonville, Florida. And you've got tension in the community and members of the community that are ill-equipped for today's job market and need education and economic development and small businesses that can use incentives to be able to employ people. There's a lot of Baltimore's a beautiful city, and there's a lot of jobs for people that are highly qualified, highly specialized, but there's a gap in jobs available for people that are not highly specialized.
Pastor, I'm watching a sad scene in Baltimore right now. That is in West Baltimore, where the police are in a line and they are retreating in the face of 2 or 3 people. Leland Vittert, this is astounding.
Hey, it's Vittert. Can you get me Seraphin on the phone again?
Leland, you're on live.
Hey.
It looks like the police are retreating in the face of a few people again.
Well, they certainly have. That's exactly what we saw in terms of them retreating, and you can see now some of the residents here who are just trying to. We've seen this fellow. He's more than anything. I think he's probably a little intoxicated, as a lot of the folks are out here who've stolen a lot from the liquor stores that we saw. What's striking is that one of the main complaints by the residents here is that the police don't protect them, and if they either protect them or they beat them, one of the two, is what we've heard. Yet tonight, the police had the opportunity to protect this neighborhood, and we saw what happened. We saw the result of the police being out here in this neighborhood.
I might add they've had the opportunity to beat them, too, and they didn't do that. I mean, it's not like they're not throwing rocks at the police officers and setting cars on fire. They had an opportunity to protect, they had an opportunity to beat, and they didn't do either.
Well, that's a point. That's a point as well. A lot of folks, though, that I've talked to have said, oh, the clergy is going to come out here and the clergy is going to protect and the clergy is going to tell the youth not to do things. Now we're just seeing this young man being arrested. And he's been agitating with the police all night. The police, at least with respect to this gentleman, have shown beyond enormous restraint as far as we could tell over the past few hours, and have finally decided to put him in handcuffs. But as it's important to note that as these people were throwing stones and the liquor bottles were flying and the stores were being looted, the clergy was out here saying, don't do this, don't do this. And all the kids said, well, thank you very much, Mr. Clergy. We're going to go loot and do the things that we've decided to do. This, as far as I can tell, and this is interesting, as this night has unfolded, now coming up here till it's been about 4 hours since the beginning of the fight for that one street corner that we've been at. This is the first arrest I have witnessed, and that is stunning in terms of how things have unfolded out here on this street. And the residents that I've talked to who live all up and down here, this is a residential neighborhood as well, say that they really can't believe that anything is going to be accomplished by this. And now we're doing what we've been doing a lot, which is walking here with the police line all the way back, and we're marching with them all the way back. Dave's been doing an incredible job on the camera, providing the images here under some tough situations as we've been getting bottles and rocks sort of
looting and, of course, these fires all across the city. It's incredibly unfortunate.
The beginning of this, when it started.
But the eyes tonight, certainly from the commissioner's standpoint, on putting out those fires and coordinating and making sure the fire department can do their job and police officers can work to keep this city safe, and also on those officers who has sustained injuries while trying to control this whole situation.
All right, Paul, thank you for that recap of the commissioner's remarks tonight. And our Keith Daniels is now back in front of the CVS that was the scene of looting and then a large fire there earlier today. Keith.
Jennifer, right. We are out front of the CVS pharmacy here. Look at all the destruction. It looks even more eerie at night here. Lots of people in the community are talking about this. This is an active neighborhood store, and earlier people were talking about wanting jobs and that kind of thing. A lot of people are going to be out of work for a while here at this CVS store because this store has been burned completely. It is gutted, and so destruction here at the CVS pharmacy for this neighborhood. Now, if we're walking back this way, we still see
how police are still holding the line here at North Avenue and at Pennsylvania Avenue, holding the line here. The area, for the most part, has been cleared of all the demonstrators and protesters, but take a look at the ground here. You see all of the mess, if we could call it that was left behind from what we saw here earlier this evening. Cars on fire, people confronting police, throwing rocks, and all the other kind of debris that they could. You can see the SWAT team unit moving through, their vehicle moving through here. Police deploying across the city. We've heard how the commissioner said he's deploying his officers across the city to keep everyone safe tonight, and they are certainly here in West Baltimore. Back to you guys.
All right,
Thank you, Keith.
Live, and,
we also heard the commissioner say that the National Guard is on the ground here.
Right.
So he indicated that they're here and presumably...
Stress. Okay, stress can be created in a whole host of ways. It doesn't just have to be done through exhaustion or tired.
Maybe the hope, the strategy known as hope, that they would just run out of gas, and maybe that's what's happening.
Well, certainly a lot of the folks that we've seen are tired, and you saw the one fellow who got arrested. He was very clearly intoxicated. And most folks, I think, it appears at least, have given up. It's difficult to know exactly what the rioters are thinking because they don't want to talk to us and tell us. And if they do, it's a stream of curse words. But it revolves around, they're angry at the police, but most of them seem to be locals. And you get this tension with the residents here yelling at the other residents who are looting to stop it. But clearly now at midnight here on the streets of Baltimore, you get a sense that a lot of folks have run out of gas, and they certainly have enough liquor for a while now to imbibe.
We're going to keep watching your picture, Leland. Thanks for the great work. You and your crew, our cameraman from Washington, Stephen Kanicka, who's with us, and a freelance photographer named Dave Friedman, who've clearly gone above and beyond in every way tonight. And for your perspective and your pictures and your commentary, we are grateful. It's important, I think, to keep all of this in context. We're looking at a situation that could be playing out in a lot of different places. We have problems in urban communities across America with poverty and lack of hope, lack of education, lack of jobs, tensions with police forces that have been brewing for years and years and years, and now it appears to be coming to a head. And
my name is Richard Shipley. Freddie's great stepfather or his dad. I've been here earlier today, and we had a beautiful homegoing service. And to see that it turned into all this violence and destruction, I am really appalled. Family, I love you, and we're supposed to be in this for justice, but is it just us? Thank you.
Mama, tell everybody, remind everybody who you are.
My name is Gloria Jones. I'm Freddie's mother. And I'm as hurt, right, but I do not want y'all to be out here carrying on, right? I want y'all to get justice for my son, but don't do it like this here. Don't tear up the whole city, man, just for him. It's wrong.
Thank you. Sister number one, come on, you can do this.
Hi, my name is Frederica Gray. It's 20. I don't agree with that violence that they're doing to the city. This is too much. I don't think all that's for Freddie Gray. I don't think that's for Freddie. I think that's something like they doing violence for something else. I think the violence is wrong, and Freddie Gray wasn't no person for violence, or Freddie Gray wasn't that type of person to break in those stores and all that. I don't like it at all.
Okay.
This is not a family that wanted to appear before cameras tonight at all. They buried Freddie today here at this church. They were exhausted, but they clearly came out here tonight in a effort to try to get things quieted down in the city. But clearly they didn't want to do this. Clearly they are upset and really heartbroken for their own loss and the loss in the city tonight.
And Deborah, they're so quiet spoken family.
So quiet. Yes, I mean, they have exhibited such grace.
They really have.
protests for more than a week. Police were pelted with rocks as young people bent on violence set fire to patrol cars and a pharmacy they had already looted. At least 15 officers were injured in the melee. The governor had seen enough.
I have declared a state of emergency. These acts of violence and destruction of property cannot and will not be tolerated.
The riots began just hours after a funeral for Freddie Gray. The 25-year-old died April 19th of a spinal injury he received during his arrest a week before. The service was an outpouring of grief and anger.
We will not rest until we address this and see that justice is done. Get your black self up and change this city.
City leaders and clergy continued their call for calm. They say they're using every possible resource to end the violence. Baltimore's mayor called the rioters thugs and announced a 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew beginning Tuesday.
This preliminary curfew will last for 1 week and be extended as it is necessary.
Police reported several arrests as looting continued into the evening. The mayor said calm will return to Baltimore and the thugs who broke the law will be brought to justice. The National Guard is now on the ground in the city. The Baltimore Police Commissioner says up to 5,000 more officers are on the way for tomorrow. Live in Baltimore, Craig Boswell. Now back to you.
Okay, Craig, thank you. Recapping what is taking place here in the city of Baltimore. Craig, working for our CBS News, which owns WJZ-TV, so clearly the national presence is here. And we're going to go now to Christy Iletto, who is still there on the scene. Christy?
Yeah, Vic, you know, again, this was all supposed to be some sort of demonstration from some Baltimore City High School students from Endowment to the Avenue, and unfortunately it escalated into something far worse, leaving a trail of destruction literally across the city of Baltimore. Of course, this was the site of a 3-alarm fire. It was supposed to be a senior citizen home for the Southern Baptist Church, and that was one of the things that was set up on fire because of what the deputy fire marshal believes is the rioting.
We're going to try to get back to her if we can. Joy, are you there?
I am, Jennifer. As I mentioned, I could hear you even though you lost our signal. As I was saying, one of the officers came up to me and asked me if we had heard anything about the National Guard. Another officer came up to me and asked what the rest of the city looked like. He said, is it as bad as it is here? Because he hasn't been out of this general area of East Baltimore. So that just gives you an idea of what some of these officers are experiencing at this hour. We also just saw Council President Jack Young out here for a couple of minutes, again, just surveying the area, taking a look at some of the damage, some of the looting, as well as the fire down the street here. So that's the latest. It's still a very active scene, and this is a good example of what you're probably seeing in a lot of neighborhoods across the city tonight, and that is that it'll calm down, and then the next thing you know, you've got fire crews responding again to this area, and then you have additional officers being brought in. And so, you know, it seems calm for a minute or a couple of hours, and then, you know, just when you think that maybe this area is secure, something happens, and additional officers have to respond back to this area.
Well, that's in keeping with what we've been talking about all along, and the information that you've given to us through your expertise, that is the nature of these events, Dr. Powers.
Right, and that's why the strategy their orders and get them staged and situated. So
she didn't do it
there
in
was
time.
certainly a delay.
She didn't do it in time, and the irony is, as Rick is speaking, the National Guard arrives on scene. Here we are after midnight now, on a day where we've seen rioting all day long, rioting and vandalism and car fires, and a lot of people were placed in a lot of danger this evening, not to mention the 15 police officers who were injured by folks throwing bottles at them and other material at them. One of the injuries recited by the police tonight was a shattered kneecap some cop suffered when someone's throwing bottles at him. He's there just trying to do his job and keep peace in the city that they all live in. And yet we've seen the behavior this evening. Rick, we'll be back to you momentarily. Well, Baltimore's mayor is coming under fire amid all of this for some remarks she made after the protests had turned violent over the weekend. Listen to what she said. Listen carefully.
While we tried to make sure that they were protected from the cars and the other things that were going on, we also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well. And we worked very hard to keep that balance and to put ourselves in the best position to de-escalate.
Did you hear that? We gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well. But then today, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake suggested that she never said that she never was leaving, quote, space for folks to destroy any part of her city. Listen.
I never said, nor would I ever say, that we are giving people space to destroy our city. So my words should not be twisted.
And then, well, we'll get into what she said next. Mark Furman is with me now. He's a Fox News contributor and a former LAPD homicide detective. Richard Fowler is a nationally syndicated radio host. Then she came out and lashed out at the media for twisting her words. Listen here. Listen to her blaming the media.
It is very unfortunate that members of your industry decided to mischaracterize my words and try to use it as a way to say that we're inciting violence. There's no such thing.
Mark, I mean, her words stand. That the viewers just have to listen with their own ears.
Well, Megan, when you listen to her words, it's very clear that she said that, and it's very clear that she was trying to give all these protesters / rioters a chance to blow off steam and then stop. It didn't happen. But notwithstanding that, she is so far over her head when it comes to leadership. She is not taking any kind of leadership role in this city, and she did not do what she needed to do. And I'd just like to bring up one little thing here. A freedom to assemble under the First Amendment does not mean you stop traffic, stop commerce, stop pedestrians, stop vehicles. That is not a lawful assembly. If you want to make believe it's a lawful assembly, you in fact are breaking the law yourself. So just because the mayor says so doesn't make it so. It was an unlawful assembly from the onset.
We are watching the National Guard arriving now in Baltimore. We believe they're about to come out of the vehicle you're watching here, sent to try to keep the peace in a city that's been burning tonight. Richard, what of this mayor? Because her detractors, the reason they seized upon that comment, obviously, was that she seemed to be going down a slippery slope in allowing anybody, quote, room to destroy. And now that we've seen plenty of destruction, she comes out and tells us she never said it. But through the magic of videotape, we know that she did.
So here's the thing, Megan, and her staff sort of released a statement after that saying what the mayor was trying to say, and I think in the heat of the moment, what she was trying to say was, we're going to give space for those who want to peacefully assemble and peacefully protest to do so.
Okay, let me stop you there. If that's what happens, that's what happens, you say something wrong, we've all been there, then you come out and say, you know what, I didn't say it right, and I was right to get the blowback. But what she did tonight was to come out and say this is not a creation of her making, that the media somehow misrepresented her message and therefore casts blame. But the media didn't misrepresent her message, and just so the viewers can hear it for themselves, we butted the two sound bites together. Listen to what she says and what she now claims she didn't say.
While we tried to make sure that they were protected from the cars and the other things that were going on, we also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well. And we worked very hard to keep that balance. I never said, nor would I ever say, that we are giving people space to destroy our city. So my words should not be twisted.
Richard?
Listen, like I said, I think that there was clearly some miscalculation and misstep in her statement. I think what the intention of the statement was to walk back. When her staff tried to walk, they tried to walk back the part about like she's giving space for people to peacefully protest.
Then why did she come out and say that the media mischaracterized her words and tried to use it? The media reported the facts of what she said. And the reason this is controversial, I'm not trying to exonerate the media. Nobody cares about the media. I'm trying to get to whether she has some responsibility here for setting a tone in Baltimore that destruction would be tolerated.
Absolutely. Megan, I don't think for one second that.
All right, let me give Mark the chance to respond. Go ahead.
You know, Megan, it is crystal clear what she said, and her ideology preceded leadership of her city. That's it in a nutshell. Now, because there is a riot, and now because 15 officers went to the hospital, she's trying to rewrite history and backfill the words that she said. She said it. She's got to own it. What Richard says is not a miscalculation. She flat out said it. I'm allowing people the space to destroy. I mean, do you not understand the English language? What did she say?
Trust me, I understand.
Yes, I am saying that.
But the point I'm trying to make here, Mark, and I think this is the point, and viewers at home get this, is that there's no mayor in the world, in the world, that is the best word, that would want people to destroy the city that they're in charge of. So it's buffoonery.
I think we can all agree
after today, because now you have one.
I think we can agree that she didn't want to see Baltimore destroyed, Richard. But the question is whether, out of a desire to be politically correct, to bend over backwards to let these protesters have their say, not understanding the risks of what, I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this. It's not like we didn't see recently what can happen in protests that go wrong, especially when they're exploited by ne'er-do-wells. She knew. We all knew. We've just seen this. So did she have a responsibility to follow the Giuliani rule? And you heard Hannity talking about it earlier. The first rock that is thrown, you're done. You're arrested, and you send a message to everybody else. That will not be tolerated.
I want to make a distinction here, and I'll continue to make the distinction. I think there's a big distinction from peaceful protests, which we saw throughout the week, and some this morning, to what we're seeing today and when the first rock was thrown.
Right.
Peaceful protesters weren't throwing rocks.
Right, but she's saying that we allow people space to destroy.
And I think there's a conflation between the two, which is where you get to this, headline sort of saying protesters are rioting. Rioters are rioting. Thugs are looting, not peaceful protesters.
Unfortunately, when you sign up to go on these protest marches, you don't always get only the Boy Scouts.
Well, that's true. And Richard is correct that some peaceful protesters do fade in the background and people that are more aggressive come to the forefront. But they're interchangeable. And does anybody
no, they're not, Mark.
That's watching these videos, just Richard, listen to me.
Peaceful protesters are not interchangeable with rioters and looters. I will not let you get away with that. Because it's absurd.
Well,
people who are peacefully protesting.
Let Mark respond. Let Mark make his point.
Richard, let me finish. What you're watching on the video, you're watching people that this is not the first time that they've conducted themselves in this manner. And you kind of wonder why there's a lawlessness in this community. Is this the first time that somebody has broken into a window and stole something? Is this the first time somebody threw rocks at the police? Is this the first time they shot at the police? First time that they actually aggressively started fires and looting? No. This conduct didn't start because you had a law-abiding citizen that all of a sudden got caught up and now I'm going to turn into a habitual criminal. These are people that have they've just been lying in wait for this opportunity. And some of them are citizens that live there and some of them aren't. But to say that they didn't start out in the peaceful demonstrations is something that you cannot say, and neither can I. But you cannot, factually say that some of the peaceful demonstrators didn't participate.
The assertion that the problem is in the premise that you're asserting. You're asserting that all these rioters were sitting at home saying, ooh, look, we're going to wait to riot. Oh, now's the perfect time. Let's go riot all over the place. No. Well, I think there are those individuals
I don't think they're that smart, Richard. I think it's so knee-jerk.
Wait, Richard gets the last word, and then I got to go.
And here's what it all boils down to, Megan. Peaceful protesters were protesting because they want justice for Freddie Gray. All right? And let's be honest. If it was the opposite way around, if Freddie Gray had hit the police officer, he would be arrested immediately. It's been 6, almost 10 days, and we still have not had one arrest. And no matter what anybody wants to say about the evidence, the fact is his vertebrae wasn't broken until he was shackled by the police and in the custody of police, meaning they made a critical mistake, and somebody should go to jail for it.
Well,
and that is the justice of those people out there fighting for.
Richard, they may, and they don't know whether somebody's not going to get arrested.
He was shackled at the time when his vertebrae was broken.
I know, but you don't don't know whether somebody's going to be charged or not yet. That's
and
the question about whether this is premature.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
They are
if it was the opposite way around, the person of the community would get arrested, and that's what these community members out there saying tonight.
Which of course you're implying. Are you implying that there's a race element here? That's what you're implying.
No,
correct?
I'm implying that. I'm no such thing. What I'm saying is that the story was the opposite way around. If the police were hit by somebody, the person would get arrested immediately. These police somehow brutalized this individual,
because that's
and
not
he
what
was
you
not
said
arrested.
Earlier, you said if this were black men who had done this to a white man, that there would have been an arrest.
I never said that.
You did in your talking points prior to our 9 o'clock show. So I just want to get you to clarify. So you're not saying this is a race issue. You're saying this is
I think there is. Megan,
issue.
we've done this a couple times, and I always say the same thing. I think that there is a big problem between community and policing, and we've got to resolve it, but it requires everybody coming to the table and saying we're going to have a real honest conversation about what's not working. And clearly, all across the country, we're seeing this happen week after week. This system that we have set up here is not working.
Well, you see it week
this
after week.
This is not the first unarmed black man that gets shot and killed.
The last two incidents we saw, those cops were placed under arrest and are awaiting trial. And that may happen here. There's been no decision
but it should have happened
not
long
to
ago.
charge
We haven't
these
even
cops.
seen an autopsy.
Richard,
Freddie Gray is
may
in the
still
ground
get
and buried, and we still don't have an autopsy because the autopsy's been done, but the public cannot have access to the autopsy.
So you don't trust the African-American officials that are in charge of Baltimore?
Judge Napolitano said it best in the 9 o'clock hour.
Mayor, you don't trust the African-American police commissioner, you don't trust the African-American minority police force.
Listen, I think that's a very, very far stretched assumption, Megan. I'm being very clear here saying that there seems to be a problem in this system. That's what I'm saying.
How is there
There's
a problem
in the
when
system.
These cops might all get charged. You could see all 6 of them
charged.
And
they should be.
And then what would you say to the people who are out on the street rioting? Over
why
what?
won't they take this to a grand jury? Why haven't we seen an autopsy? Why haven't we seen a report, Megan?
Richard,
we haven't seen the report that came out last week. We haven't seen one.
Because now we're watching the SWAT teams appear on the screen. You guys stand by. Thank you. So we're looking. All right. So we've got the SWAT teams arriving on the scene, and we've got an update from there next. Don't go away.
That is right, Denise, and in a couple minutes you are going to hear some sirens going past me. We are outside the City Emergency Operations Center, and they are looking at reports of yet another fire. We're told that this one is potentially at Calvert and Lafayette. We are on Calvert Street, North Calvert Street right now. You can hear the fire truck. We're seeing a fire truck speed by us to go check out the reports of yet another fire here in the city at Calvert and Lafayette. We're not sure if there is an actual fire. They're saying they're just checking it out at this point. Now, tomorrow is definitely going to be a very different day in Baltimore. We're already seeing a lot of closings, a lot of cancellations. There's some that we want to run down for you. The federal courts will be closed tomorrow. Baltimore City Schools, the B&O Rail Museum will be closed. Coppin State will be open at noon. Micah is closed, so that is just a short list of some of the closures, cancellations, and delayed openings that we're seeing for tomorrow. As I mentioned, tomorrow is going to be a very different day here in Baltimore. The National Guard has been activated. We know just over an hour ago, some of those Humvees were lined up right outside Camp Frederick in Reisterstown. They were headed down here to Baltimore to start patrolling the streets. National Guard officials tell us they could have up to 5,000 members of the National Guard armed and here on the streets if that is what the city needs. Governor Larry Hogan saying the families of Baltimore deserve peace, and that is why they have declared this state of emergency. The mayor has issued a curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. to try and quell some of this violence, some of the awful scenes that we saw today, the fires. I'll tell you, just standing here, a lot of the vehicles that we're seeing go by are emergency vehicles. Some of them are from other counties. They are people that are being brought in to help try and quell some of the violence we've seen here in Baltimore. We know the state police will now take over some of the command here in Baltimore. They're asking for 500 extra officers from the state of Maryland and 5,000 extra officers from the Mid-Atlantic. So that is the type of presence we're going to see on the streets of Baltimore in the next few days, just so we don't see some of those scenes that we saw today. Again, we're still looking for reports of this potential another fire at Calvert and Lafayette. We'll let you know if we get any more information on that. But for now, back to you guys in the studio.
All right, I'm going to add one thing to your list of closings, Megan, because there are a lot of families out there. Apparently, Catholic schools are closed tomorrow, with the exception of the Cathedral School. All the others will also be closed tomorrow. So, yeah, it will be, and there are, as you and I know, there are tens of thousands of people who commute into Baltimore City to work. And they're going to be getting up in the morning wondering if it's safe to drive into the city. And I'm sure that the #1 goal, by getting that National Guard presence into the city, and you know, it's very imposing to see an enormous tank come down your street, that hopefully that will make it safe for everybody who comes in to do their business in this city every day. It's a very important city for people who live here.
It is. Even earlier today, people trying to drive home. We saw people stopping. I was in Druid Hill Park. There was a bunch of firefighters there, and they were stopping, and they were asking, can I get to my house without hitting these groups? I don't want to get myself in trouble. I heard one of the fire officials tell a woman who was obviously shaken, obviously scared. He told her, yes, you can drive towards your home, but if you see a group heading towards you, put your car in reverse and get out of there. I don't think that really helped ease her fears. She just looked even more fraught, more upset about trying to go into these crowds, and the crowds were moving around so fast it was really hard to tell her where they were. So there's definitely a lot of unease. There has been tonight. Hopefully with that bigger presence, the National Guard, it's going to help a lot of people tomorrow feel more comfortable.
Yeah, particularly the people who live in these communities in the area of North Avenue, Fulton, Pennsylvania. Yeah, they really need some relief. Thank you, Megan. And a number of city leaders spoke out tonight, urging rioters to get off the streets. We're going to go back now to City Hall. Derek Valcourt has been in front all day, and he has some of their responses for us. Derek?
Well, the mayor insisted she would not surrender this city to a band of what she called thugs. Tonight, she is calling for calm, calling for peace. The police commissioner insisting that parents get involved and help as the eyes of the world watch Baltimore, a city that remains in crisis. Police watched from the air and flooded the streets with hundreds of officers, but still not enough to quell the rioting and looting. City leaders expressing a range of emotions from anger to disappointment to embarrassment.
Too many people have spent generations building up this city for it to be destroyed by thugs.
I'm not going to be as nice as everyone else. I am simply pissed off. This is the city that I love. This is the city that I chose to dedicate my life to. And we cannot stand idle and let, as thugs, whatever you want to call them, I don't even say they're thugs. We're going to just call them cowards, ruin our city.
The whole world is watching us, and some people are even calling us animals.
Many of the early rioters appear to be teenagers. City and community leaders calling on parents, grandparents, and other relatives to pull their kids in the house and teach them about the importance of peaceful protests.
People know better than to be breaking into stores and burning buildings and putting themselves in danger and putting the police in danger. That's a problem. I'm sorry. You will never get me to say that just because somebody is young, that's the kind of conduct that's acceptable.
What I think you see more than anything else are people trying to find a way to express themselves, and regrettably and unfortunately, the violent aspect of it cannot be tolerated. I mean, that's not why Freddie Gray's family sat in that church today and held hands. They wanted a city that would come together and to help them find the perpetrators of the crime and to do it in a peaceful fashion.
In fact, Freddie Gray's parents asked that there be no protest today. That obviously did not happen. What happened to Freddie Gray at the heart of a lot of resentment in the city toward the Baltimore City Police Department. And the issue of police brutality has been an issue that the nation has been grappling with, but really it has been an issue front and center for many here in Baltimore for a number of years. Freddie Gray's case not only being investigated by police, Police, but also being investigated by the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office. They're conducting their own independent investigation into Freddie Gray's death. Baltimore City Police have said they would turn over all of their findings to the office of the Baltimore City State's Attorney by this coming Friday. But it is important to point out that just because they are turning over their findings to the prosecutor's office this week does not mean that the prosecutor will make a decision on whether or not the officers involved in this case should face any charges. She may not make that decision for a couple of weeks, it could be. So it is important that when Friday comes and goes, that there isn't a lot of upset that a decision isn't made right away, instantly. That could take some weeks, as the prosecutor wants to make sure her own independent investigation verifies whatever the police have to say when they turn over their findings this week. The Department of Justice also investigating what happened to Freddie Gray and looking at whether the officers involved here violated Freddie Gray's civil rights. A lot to take in over the course of the next coming weeks. Certainly this issue won't be going away for the city. Back to you.
Derek, thank you very much. And among all of this chaos today, clergy members joined together to call for peace. We also are seeing a number of tweets coming from people who have very close connections to Baltimore, including former stars on The Wire. The Wire, that show that had mass appeal and basically created an image of Baltimore that some people liked, some people absolutely did not like. Andre Arroyo tweeted this: "To my beloved city of Baltimore, I feel your pain. Stand up, rise up without breaking down. Discipline, not destruction." And also Wendell Pierce tweeted this not long ago. He said, "Baltimore, these are not protesters. These are criminals, disrespectful of the wishes of the family and the people of goodwill." I'm also looking at another one here online right now from Julito McCullum. He said, "Praying for the people out in my second home of Baltimore, Maryland. May God be with them all." And God be with us all the time. Marcus Washington at New Shiloh Baptist Church, where religious leaders have been saying just that, asking people to pray, asking people to take action in a very positive way, asking people to take back the streets without violence and without the types of things that we have seen today. Marcus, tell us about the gathering there at New Shiloh today.
Well, Vic, if you remember, it was right here that we spoke to two ministers about what was going on. It's going to take place here at 7 o'clock. They were calling for ministers to come join them, and a lot of ministers replied. They all came here. They
thought it's just like a lot of emotions and hostility. These guys out here, they mad, man. You know what I'm saying? These cops out here, they killing young black men, and it's a lot of emotions being fled and you know, stuff like that. But I talked to a lot of these guys, man. They said we doing all of this out of anger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because
but they have to know this isn't helping anyone's cause.
No, it's not. But you got to think a lot of these, probably 90% of these guys out here been a victim of police brutality.
Have you been a victim of police brutality?
Yes, sir, I have.
In what form?
From being beaten, have my head stomped in the street, stuff like that. Being in the back of a paddy wagon and having them drive and
And your name, sir?
My name is Jamal Cooper.
Jamal, this has to upset you, though, to see this kind of violence and see this kind of fire.
Yeah, but however, I don't condone this or in any form of fashion, but I understand where these young black men, you know, how they feel.
And where do you and where does your community go from here?
I really don't know, and you know,
how does this get better?
How does it get better?
Yeah.
For them to take ease and to do what they here for, to protect and serve. You know what I'm saying? For these cops to do their job rather than going overboard and killing these young black men.
And I understand that, but have you tried to talk to anybody to calm them down and try and say, listen?
I've just talked to, you know, a few black men up here, and you know, it's like they're, you know, they're emotional. They're mad.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm a peacemaker. You know, and I've tried to talk to these men, man, but they you know, they like I said, it's a lot of emotions and they're tired. You know, it's nationwide. It's not just here in Baltimore. It's like everywhere.
All right.
Like,
well,
these black men are dying out here on these streets by these cops, man, and you know they need to take another form of you know, how they do their job or whatever. They don't need to kill these black men. They need to, you know, come up with some form to, you know, another way to apprehend these men rather than killing them.
well, we hope that happens.
Okay.
We really do. Thanks for talking to us. Be safe, all right?
All right.
Wow.
It appears that there's enough fire trucks here, Megan, to get this fire under control. But you know the emotions are still running high, as you can hear, and you know, I don't know where they go from here. Jamal certainly doesn't know where they go from here.
Let's hope they get the fire out. Earlier we saw people vandalizing the fire hose as the police showed up to try to save a burning business so that they couldn't save the neighborhood CVS, which is, you know, owned by their neighbor and frequented by themselves, and you know there's some madness to it all. Rick, thank you. That was an important interview. I want to get back to David Webb. We're 30 seconds from a break. I'm going to carry you over. He made you feel it. They're mad. They're angry. They believe that they are being brutalized and murdered week by week by the cops.
Yeah, and that's understandable, but to turn that into those row houses, the resources.
I'm not justifying that, but they want to be heard. They don't feel they're being heard.
Yeah. And all that, Megan, you can be heard. They can take action. They can do so many things in their community.
And you'll be heard more right after this break. Be right back.
Can a protein originally found in a jellyfish improve your memory? Our scientists say yes. Researchers have discovered a protein that actually supports healthier brain function. It's the breakthrough in a supplement called Prevagen.
Homes are very close together. You can see for yourselves. And the police showed up on scene. This is from earlier. Hold on. But you'll see it's a residential neighborhood and a row home is ablaze. The firefighters are on the scene. David Webb is still with me. David, respond to that. I mean, I understand you can talk about causes, but at base, you see here what you did see in Ferguson, which is young African-American men in particular, some women as well, who are angry. They are angry about their circumstances, and they feel victimized and disempowered.
So let me put this in another context. You've got a mayor, you've got a black mayor, a black police chief, you've got a black leadership in that town. Why not get ahead of these issues by dealing with these communities to fix problems? Where's the proactive?
Community policing, they call it. Yeah, where you sort of get out there and you get to know
Well, not just
folks.
Community policing, but where's the politician who runs for office, voted in by the people, who says, I'm going to get ahead of these issues? So when it does happen, and it does, that someone is killed for whatever reason.
I mean, the police relations are obviously a big piece of it, but isn't it deeper than that? The socioeconomic status, and yet, as I say it out loud, I'm reminded of the fact that the vast majority of folks who live here are not participating in this violence, and they also are suffering from the same circumstances.
Well, they're those victims we saw just like in Ferguson, the business owners, the local owners, the couple of guys who started a business. These people will pay a price, and that price will be paid by them even where the city's harmed, because they'll pay the taxes to fix the problems. So real community leaders, real solutions. The real community leaders, not the Al Sharptons of the world, need to step out and say, we're going to start a process of fixing the problems with the police, with the mayor.
If you wait until an incident takes place, I mean, it may motivate people, but it's too late. Let me ask you about this, because I thought this was a telling exchange that we had on the Kelly File at the 9 o'clock showing with one protester who was complaining, started by him complaining that the police hit him with beanbags. Watch.
They just hit me with 3 beanbags. And when you were watching here, were people running around?
I ran just now.
Let's see. Leland, does he have injuries? Let's see the injuries.
There's nothing I can do. Because
can we see where the beanbags hit you? Oh wow! There you go, Megan.
You put the light on him. You put the light on him.
Yeah, we got the whole. A lot of viewers are seeing what's happening, and you're saying that's right there. And there's another beanbag round. And from the
muscle, and I ran.
And you ran away.
I didn't go down.
I ran because I'm tired of the police.
Hold on. Just stay with me. And are you gonna stay out here protesting?
Yes, I am.
Now,
what was he doing when he got shot with the beanbags?
I mean, well, when the curfew comes, we gotta respect it.
So you think you're gonna go inside?
We gotta respect it, so we gotta go inside.
Okay, and
but I don't want to protest when it's out here for everybody to protest. Okay, so I'm not trying to do more than my means.
Okay, you're protesting. I understand that. Tell me, what were you doing? What was happening on this street when you got shot with the beanbags?
I was telling the police like we not ready to keep taking another murder.
Were people throwing things at the police?
Yeah, we was. They was.
What were people throwing at the police?
Like maybe bottles.
You were hitting them
bottles or maybe even this.
Okay, and you were throwing that at the police.
It's not a beanbag. We throwing stuff like this at the police. But those were really loud shots. I got shots, man.
Okay.
I got shots.
And that Megan, is the one.
I mean, it gives you a little context for what the police are up. Police, some would have us believe the police are just running around doing target practice on young African American men.
In this case, they're being overly restrained in what we've seen, whether it's the orders combined with the way they're acting. When you're standing there and something's coming at you in the dusk or the dark, you have no idea what it is. You literally don't know. When I was standing there in Ferguson and the police were there and things were being thrown past us, you had, I think it was Griff was doing shots for you, or Mike Tobin back then. You know, you don't see what's coming. You just see an object coming. So he says his culpability's there. And now he's complaining about being shot. If you're part of the problem, you might be on the bad end of the solution.
Don't throw bottles at the cops. And then you're not going to get shot with beanbags.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Words to live by.
Yeah, really. I mean, but again, Megan, you said it. The community leaders, the mayor, the police need to get out ahead of the issues in the community. You're not going to change them in the heat of the moment or in the heat of the fire.
The whole thing's been very reactionary.
Yes.
And it was foreseeable. As you point out, it was foreseeable. We just went through this. David, great to see you.
Good to see you, Megan.
Well, breaking reports coming in of fires across West Baltimore. Our news crew's heading there now. We'll have a live report just ahead.
Let's take a look at your credit. I know I have a 7.
More at this hour as riots between protesters and police have continued late into the night. And this is a house fire now in Baltimore. It just erupted a short time ago, and you can see this appears to be residential, and according to Rick Leventhal, it is. These are homes. It's 12:30 at night. Who is inside those homes? Families, children, pets? Were they able to get out? Will it spread? The police are on the scene, the firefighters are on the scene, but is anyone protecting them? Because we've seen intentional acts of sabotage against the firefighters. And look at this man dancing in the flames as there was a car that looked like it was about to explode right next to him moments before this. Our Leland Vitter is live in Baltimore, as he has been all night. Leland, what's the latest?
Megan, the looting continues at this hour. This is the street corner that the pitched battles between the police and the rioters have gone on all night, and the rioters have very clearly won. Twice we've seen the police come down here and retake this. Both times they've been beat back by the protesters or simply left and walked back, and now you can see the looting that's going on at the 2 liquor stores on the left-hand side. There, folks still coming in getting the 5-finger discount. These must have been the most well-stocked liquor stores in history because of just how much in terms of sheer volume has gone out the door. The 2 cars that you saw there were smashed and then lit on fire. Conceivably, people stole them and then drove them into each other in this amazing reckless driving scenario that played out on television. And what's amazing throughout this whole thing, Megan, and we don't know why, but we do know that the police have only made 1 arrest in front of us, and that was something that kind of had gone on very long into the night. And as we speak, and as this plays out behind us with the looting and the vandalism continuing well into the night here, the police are still 150 yards up that way, holding a riot line. And there's some more bottles. You can see a police car just driving by, and they speed up because the looters and rioters are throwing liquor bottles at the police. Police don't even bother to stop.
Incredible. It doesn't look like America. Leland, we'll be back to you as news warrants. There are new questions tonight as well over some potentially explosive remarks from a controversial black leader named Malik Shabazz. He's the national president of Black Lawyers for Justice. That's how he's identified in all of the papers. But he happens to also be the former national chairman of the new Black Panther Party. Here he is speaking to a crowd in Baltimore the other day.
We are marching through this city.
So that's helpful. Joe Hicks is a former civil rights leader and vice president of Community Advocates, and we're watching this scene that Leland just took us to, where they were throwing bottles at the police cars. You know, Joe, this guy goes out there, agitates the crowd, pours fuel on the fire, and you got to see in the media how he's just mentioned as the president of this group. And no one mentions that he's the same Malik Shabazz who was running around not long ago, and just play this sound, but keep this. Look at this. At the firefighters. They're throwing bottles at the firefighters. Under what suspicion are the firefighters? Nothing. It's just abuse. That's it. They're trying to put out fires of row homes that may have local families in them, and these guys are throwing bottles at them. It makes so much sense.
Crazy.
I mean,
just insane.
Let me I just want the audience to hear what Malik Shabazz stands for and what his message to America. A couple years ago, this is the guy now in there stoking the fires.
True sovereignty is black power. True sovereignty is black nationalism. True freedom and independence and liberation, and which is our rise. It ain't got no choice. It must coincide with the white world's demise.
The white world demise, and then he goes on to call white people the devil. Helpful.
Well, hardly. And you know, people like this continually are remade and reshaped and reformed. You know, people like Al Sharpton have never been held accountable for the kind of things he did and has said in the past. Here's a guy in a much more recent time frame that now is none of that is being referenced in terms of where this guy has come from. He just seems to be just another person there taking part in these protests. There's a whole history around this guy, and there's an underpinning of a certain kind of ideology that can't be escaped here, that's driving much of this anger we heard referenced by some of the people on the street that you showed earlier. So there's some very ugly kind of themes here that I think America needs to really wake up to and begin to talk about how do we deal with that. People who hate the very nation that they live in. And you said it earlier. I mean, this could be scenes from Syria or from Afghanistan.
Right.
I mean, what are we seeing here? A total breakdown of civilization. People dancing in the light of fires. I mean, this is outrageous kind of stuff we're seeing here. Setting
Residential homes on fire, throwing bottles at firefighters. Since when did we see firefighters killing young black men? I mean, not that any of it made sense, Joe, but it's really crossed into complete lawlessness.
It has, and it's clear that early on, this had a very benign kind of beginning, with some peaceful protest, obviously supporting the family around the death of this unfortunate young man.
That's right.
Again, we still don't know all the facts about his death. It looks ugly, and it may be ugly, and if police did something that resulted in this young man's death, they need to be held accountable to the fullest extent.
We have to wait. We have to wait for the results of the investigation.
Exactly.
Joe, my apologies. We're up against a hard break. We'll be right back. It appears to be getting worse in Baltimore right now, as both of our news crews have had to retreat because their situations are growing increasingly dangerous, and we have gotten a confirmation from police that they're having reports of criminals throwing cinder blocks at passing fire engines. Cinder blocks. Jonathan Gilliam is a former FBI agent in charge. He's with me. Your thoughts?
Where chaos reigns, chaos rules. That's the whole gist of this whole thing. If you don't have standards in place, from the time this man was arrested and this whole thing started to blow up, you see a lack of standards, whether it be in the police department, the way that the police rule on a daily basis, the way the city is responding and preparing for this, and by and large, the way that the city tells the people that live there, you will act. Go ahead.
We're seeing, there's our Rick Leventhal, there are more families on the stoop. This is a second fire. This isn't the first one, correct? This is a different fire. This is a different neighborhood. And now, Jonathan, has come to the point where they appear to be setting fires to their own homes.
Right. And I heard somebody tonight say that, you know, this is because of anger and that this is pent-up rage.
Jamal said that.
That's ridiculous. What you're seeing, I saw angry people earlier. Those are people that live there and they want change. It's not people who are throwing bricks at firemen. It's not people who are burning down the local liquor store or the local CVS. Those are thugs. Those are criminals. And those are the people that, by and large, have turned this from a dialogue into a complete riot. Mm-hmm. And when you have a mayor that goes out and says the thing that she does, and they saw what happened in Ferguson, why didn't they go out and prepare beforehand? Did they not know that there might potentially be a riot on the day that this boy was buried?
Right. They told us about a half an hour ago that things were calming down. They appear to be anything but calm now. Look at this. Look at the lives that are being put in danger right here. Who's inside, to say nothing of the firefighters who are risking their lives and may have families of their own to try to protect people against this madness. Thank you for being with us tonight. Our coverage will continue, and we'll have more for you tomorrow night in the Kelly File right here.
It's Fox News Channel's live coverage. These are live pictures there where our Leland Vittert has been reporting, and these pictures courtesy of WJZ Television, our network news service affiliate in Baltimore, where cars have been riding in and out of these fires, in some cases setting vehicles on fire, and continuing the mayhem across the city of Baltimore, especially here in West Baltimore where we're looking, and at